Chapter 2976. Zhang Jiasun seemed to like wearing a suit, not only when he was alive, but also when he was dead. His suit was neat and tidy, as if he was an elite of society. Just like how a girl would look like a queen in high heels. Ning Shu patted the non-existent dust off her body, opened her umbrella and prepared to leave. Zhang Jiasun sneered, "You seem to be a little afraid of seeing me. Shouldn't we have a drink when we meet? Let me treat you to a drink." Ning Shu tilted her head and said, "Sorry, I don't drink with people I don't know. You don't have to be so weird. We will repay kindness with kindness, and revenge with revenge." Ning Shu didn't forget that Zhang Jiasun wanted to put the string of love on her. He wanted to make her his love slave. Just like how he treated his wife. Zhang Jiasun looked at Ning Shu. "Then do you think we have a grudge or a grudge?" Ning Shu couldn't be bothered to argue with him. She would rather use the time to understand the power of witchcraft and learn curses. Zhang Jiasun wasn't worth her time. If he wanted to take revenge, she would take it. Ning Shu was speechless. "Whether you want to take revenge or complain, let's set a time and settle it. Don't waste my time." Ning Shu said directly. Zhang Jiasun said, "Then what if I say I like you? What does it have to do with me that you like me? Just do it." Ning Shu was baffled. If a random person came to her and said, "I like you," she would accept it. Whether it was a beggar or a cripple, she would accept it. She didn't like Zhang Jiasun at all. Moreover, Zhang Jiasun said those words just to stir up her heart. It would be best if he could turn the world upside down. Ning Shu's heart didn't waver. Could he not be so annoying? They both knew what kind of person she was. It was interesting to use such tricks. Zhang Jiasun smiled. "I know it's like this. You have always been a cold-hearted person." Ning Shu almost vomited. "What right do you have to scold me? Don't play love games with me." She had been single for hundreds of years, not because she wanted to date someone like Zhang Jiasun. He would rather find a skeleton. A skeleton with delicate features was better looking than Zhang Jiasun. Zhang Jiasun's cancer of being a straight man was probably terminal. He felt that love could deal with women. As long as a woman fell in love, even if it was a love that he imagined, she would become a Satan. Talking to him was really a waste of time. He might as well let the wood law imprint absorb the energy. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes. Should he just kill Zhang Jiasun? Moreover, he still had the law imprint. However, in a city of laws, being caught was a bit risky. Moreover, the grand uncle was currently in a bad mood. If he was caught, Ning Shu felt that he wouldn't be able to survive. He was not worried about Zhang Jiasun, but the grand uncle. It wasn't worth it to sacrifice himself just to kill Zhang Jiasun. Even if he were to take away her soul power, the price would be too great. Ning Shu would think twice if he was still under the control of the Grand Elder. Especially some time ago, she saw Senior Uncle and Jingqing cuddling and whispering sweet nothings to each other. Maybe he used his power to take revenge on her. Ning Shu looked at Zhang Jiasun with an inexplicable expression. Zhang Jiasun looked straight into Ning Shu's eyes. Could it be that the Water City Lord wants to kill the Law Incarnation again and snatch the Law Imprint? Ning Shu said indifferently, "Why not?" He thought about the possible price he might have to pay. This time, the Grand Uncle had his personal feelings. The price was too high. Zhang Jiasun started laughing. His laughter grew louder and louder. Ning Shu looked at him coldly. "You might not know yet, but you're already on the Law Incarnation's blacklist. All the Law Incarnations know where you appear. If something happens to me, even if the judges don't come, they'll know that it was you." Zhang Jiasun took a step forward and approached Ning Shu. "Do you want to fight? Are you trying to provoke me?" Ning Shu chuckled. "How can I fight with you? This kind of thing doesn't fit my little fairy's personality." Ning Shu sneered. Ning Shu opened the black hole. Behind the black hole was the world of samsara. "I won't kill you. I'll just lock you in. If you annoy me, I'll throw you into the pool of rebirth. Even if you're a task enforcer, I'll still devour you." When Zhang Jiasun saw the black hole, his whole body trembled. He retreated far away in an instant and mobilized the power of the Law City to protect himself. Zhang Jiasun looked at Ning Shu with a changing expression. Ning Shu glanced at him and walked directly into the black hole. He didn't want to fight with her. Why did he have to provoke her? He just wanted her to make the first move and kill him with a borrowed knife. The black hole gradually disappeared, as if it had never appeared. Ning Shu left the city of witches. Zhang Jiasun couldn't stop Ning Shu from leaving and could only watch her leave. It wasn't that Zhang Jiasun didn't know that this woman despised him, but when she said that she liked him, there was a sense of hatred and coldness. That kind of gnashing of teeth was because he couldn't do anything to this woman. He couldn't beat her. He was almost desperate and couldn't find a way to deal with her. It was as if she was an iron bastion. The more she was like this, the more he wanted her to soften because of him. He wanted her to smile in front of him, not with contempt and mockery. Zhang Jiasun laughed and rubbed his temples. This kind of woman was different from his wife. His wife was pure and kind, but this woman's heart was as hard as iron and high above. She could see through his heart at a glance. Even if he dug out his heart, this woman wouldn't believe him. Instead, she would trample on his heart and liver. She made him hate her to the core. Ning Shu left the city of witches and came to the city of wood to let the law of wood imprint absorb the energy. Ning Shu was in the city lord's residence. Looking at the mirror, she fixed her hair bun. There were leaves. What would happen when the world tree grew up? Ning Shu was a little melancholy. She really had to carry a Christmas tree. Can't you change the position or hide it? You're making me unable to see anyone. After fussing with the mirror for a long time, she tied her hair bun tightly so that the leaves wouldn't show as she walked. Ning Shu was more worried that the leaves would run out of her hair to bask in the sun and see the light. She didn't know if it would blossom and bear fruit in the future. She remembered that when she wanted to repair the peerless martial arts, she said that she needed the soul origin and the fruit of the world tree. First of all, the world tree had to satisfy her own energy before it could blossom and bear fruit. She hadn't seen what the fruit of the world tree looked like. Her luck wasn't too good. She met Zhang Jiasun in the city of witches. Zhang Jiasun was the city lord. She might meet Zhang Jiasun again when she went to comprehend the curse and the law of witches. She was so annoyed. She was most annoyed that Zhang Jiasun looked at her with a conflicted gaze. His gaze was complicated, resentful, and emotional. I don't have time to play with you. If you want to fight, then fight. What's the point of all this nonsense? /BK. Chapter 2977. After absorbing the energy, Ning Shu was ready to learn prophecy. He had said that he wanted to learn curses and prophecy. As soon as he walked into the city of prophecy, Ning Shu saw many images in front of him. These images appeared in front of him frame by frame like a movie. The content of each image was different. In some scenes, she was killed by Zhang Jiasun. Zhang Jiasun had a smile on his face, looking handsome and steady. She fell beside Zhang Jiasun's feet, digging at Zhang Jiasun's ankle, her lips moving. She seemed to be begging for something. Zhang Jiasun kicked her away. She rolled on the ground several times. She crawled over like a dog, grabbing Zhang Jiasun's trousers and begging without humility. Her face and clothes were covered in dust, and there were tears on her face. Zhang Jiasun said, "Ning Shu, thank you for cultivating the tree of world for me. You are still the woman I love the most. But you are not proud now. You have been crushed into mud." She wept in despair, looking as if the sky had collapsed. Ning Shu pursed his lips and refused to admit that the person in the image was him. What couldn't be solved by a fight? If one fight was not enough, he would fight too. This was a prophecy about her future. Nonsense. She might die in all kinds of ways, but she would not die because of her own cheap self. At least, it was impossible for Zhang Jiasun. Zhang Jiasun might look at you a few times if you were superior. When you really became what Zhang Jiasun wanted, he would immediately abandon you without hesitation. He worked tirelessly to get what he hated. When you were gone one day, he would not like you anymore. People were so cheap. Ning Shu looked away without any fluctuation in his heart and looked at the next image. In this image, she was in the place where the Tai Shu was in the void, and the two of them were fighting. She was holding a long whip, and the Tai Shu was holding a long sword. They were fighting fiercely. Both of them had a murderous aura, as if they were having a duel of life and death. Ning Shu's heart was full of fluctuations. Damn, she will be so strong in the future that she can fight with the Taishu. Ning Shu liked this prophecy. It was not like the first person who was disgusting. However, this scene quickly flashed past. The third scroll was a peerless martial art. It collapsed completely. The law of nothingness swallowed up the system space, and she was swallowed as well. She instantly vanished into thin air. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. This might be the way to die in the future. After all, she was very worried about peerless martial arts. Images flashed through her mind frame by frame. There were images of her dying on the battlefield, images of her being forced into the law of nothingness, images of her being eaten by an abyssal prefect. Ning Shu was speechless. How was this a prophecy? It was a projection of all the things that could happen in the surroundings. Some of them were especially unreliable. She would not be forced into the law of nothingness in Zheng Qing's place. Zhang Jiasen, it's better not to say anything. Some of them poked at Ning Shu's heart, but Ning Shu didn't care about some of them at all. It was a list of all the possible dangers she might encounter. However, there was one thing that particularly touched Ning Shu's heart. It was the scene when he fought with the Grand Elder. That was really the powerful strength that Ning Shu dreamed of. Seeing this, Ning Shu reluctantly believed that the prophecy was really useful and could predict the future. However, things like the future were especially hard to predict. It was like countless rivers. Once they turned a corner, the direction would be completely different. Things that were too complicated probably couldn't be predicted. Ning Shu didn't expect to be able to accurately predict the future. She only wanted to predict small things so that she could walk less. For example, finding someone or something. If the person wasn't there, she wouldn't go. The images became faster and faster. All kinds of images flashed in front of Ning Shu. Ning Shu didn't care much about them. She was just wondering when these images would disappear. She didn't want to look anymore. However, these images still appeared frame by frame. Ning Shu squatted down, held an umbrella, and supported her chin with one hand. She looked at these images indifferently. Prophecies were actually speculations about what would happen in the future based on the current situation. Perhaps it wasn't 100% accurate. Sometimes, logic was needed to support the theory. These images disappeared after Ning Shu flashed past them, revealing the original appearance of the city. The city was very bright. It was so bright that it felt a little dazzling. Ah! Someone next to her wailed. She held her head with both hands and her face was full of disbelief. This is impossible. It can't be like this. It was probably the task enforcers who saw the prophecy about themselves and refused to believe it. Some were in tears, some were gnashing their teeth, as if they wanted to tear someone apart alive. Anyway, many people were affected by these prophecies and probably had a knot in their heart. She didn't know if it was intentional or not. There would definitely be images that would sow discord between people. When the task enforcers saw it, they would be shocked and doubtful. The law of this city was a little bad. Before, in the City of Witches, she was in so much pain that she didn't have any strength. Here, her mood was up and down. Ning Shu said that she wanted to have a meal to relieve her mood. Ning Shu walked into the restaurant. A loud music hit her in the face. Ning Shu looked at the flickering lights in the dim room. There was even someone singing on the stage. There were many people dancing on the dance floor. This was completely the appearance of a modern bar. After walking through several cities, this was the first time she saw such a bar. A restaurant was converted into a bar. Ning Shu turned around and wanted to leave. She wanted to eat, not drink. It was very noisy inside. Ning Shu was now physically and mentally exhausted. It was too noisy. Guest, you must be here for the first time. The wine here is very special. Drinking it can make you forget all your troubles. Ning Shu, drugs? The charming woman couldn't help but laugh. Her fingernails painted bright red pointed at Ning Shu's nose. So cute. How can it be drugs? It's brewed with the water of the reincarnation pool. It can remove the resentment, hatred, and worries of the soul. Drinking it will make all your worries disappear. Ning Shu's eyes widened. Wine brewed with the water of the reincarnation pool? Was it a gimmick or real? How could people eat so much? Looking at Ning Shu's shocked expression, the woman was overjoyed. You must be a task enforcer who just came to the space of law. The water of the reincarnation pool can purify the soul. The wine brewed with it can make people forget their troubles. Ning Shu asked, Is it true? I heard that the water of the reincarnation pool can wash away the impurities of the soul. But it can also erase the memories of the soul. Idiot, it's not all brewed with the water of the reincarnation pool. It must be done according to the rules. If it's all brewed with the water of the reincarnation pool, people will become stupid. The woman pulled Ning Shu's arm and dragged her into the brightly lit bar. This one is on you. I guarantee you will want to drink more. Ning Shu looked at the dark green wine in front of her. Her expression was very resistant. I don't drink. Ning Shu shook her head and said directly, /BK. Chapter 2978. Why not? I'm not charging you. I'm just letting you have a taste. You'll know how good it tastes after you try it. The water in the pool of rebirth can purify souls. This wine has the same effect, but it's not as effective. The lady boss couldn't help but say, Look around. Many people are drinking it. Ning Shu was a little speechless. Don't try to trick me. Ning Shu still refused. So many people jumped into the pool of rebirth. I won't drink it. She had pushed so many souls into the pool of rebirth. Seeing this wine, Ning Shu thought of all kinds of creatures jumping in. Sorry, I can't drink it at all. The lady boss was stunned for a moment. She was obviously speechless by Ning Shu's elegant and refined rejection. The lady boss smiled. Her bright red lips and snow-white teeth made her look very gorgeous. She was very beautiful, and her figure was curvy. She was very good-looking. He realized that the mission enforcers were all quite good-looking. There weren't any particularly ugly ones with distorted facial features. Of course, as the soul grew stronger, it would slowly adjust. Moreover, didn't the attribute panel have charm? It would slowly become more beautiful if he added it. Let me tell you, this wine has another effect. It can strengthen the soul. Ning Shu looked at her in surprise. But the pool of rebirth will remove a part of the soul. The water in the pool of rebirth itself contains soul power. Moreover, it's very pure. Of course, there won't be a lot. If there's a lot, people won't do missions and will just drink it. Ning Shu asked again, Is the water from the reincarnation world all transported here? Won't it affect the pool of rebirth? Of course it's from the reincarnation world. It won't affect it much. There are so many reincarnation worlds. Even if I scoop a bowl of water from the pool of rebirth in each world, it'll be enough for me to brew wine for tens of thousands of years. Moreover, the pool of rebirth is a living spring. Of course, there will be times when a living spring dries up. So, little cutie, I've told you so much. Are you going to drink it? The lady boss supported her chin in an extremely flirtatious manner. Ning Shu felt a little psychological barrier and couldn't drink it. He sniffed it and smelled the rich fragrance of wine. It was quite charming. Why do you insist on letting me drink your wine? This kind of forceful promotion always made people feel that she did not have good intentions. The lady boss stood up and opened her arms with an intoxicated expression on her face. Because I like to see people's expressions of enjoyment and amazement after drinking my wine. Ning Shu had nothing to say. He carefully took a sip, numbing his tongue. After drinking it, he felt a cooling sensation in his throat, as if it could dispel all the anxiety and discomfort in his heart. How is it? Does it taste good? The lady boss looked at Ning Shu with a smile. Ning Shu nodded. Not bad. As for soul strength, I didn't feel it. The soul power extracted from the reincarnation pool was used to support the world of reincarnation. The lady boss said disapprovingly, It's just a gimmick. It's good enough that it can make people forget their worries. No one will care if it has soul power or not. It's not like they're here for soul power. It's just for fun. The lady boss looked at Ning Shu with a smile. This cup is free. Every customer who comes for the first time gets a cup. You have to pay for it in the future. It's not easy for me to run a business. Drinking the water from the reincarnation pool, Ning Shu felt a little strange. His mind was filled with images of many souls jumping into the reincarnation pool. He felt a little troubled. If he did not see the reincarnation pool, it would be fine. But seeing it, he felt like drinking someone else's bathwater. Ning Shu drank half of it and could not drink any more. It was too numbing for his tongue, although it felt good after drinking it. But he felt addicted. Ning Shu glanced at the bar. It was quite big, but because there were many people, it was especially crowded. The bar looked small. Business was good, and the taxes paid were high. Why aren't you drinking? Is it not good? The lady boss was a little dissatisfied that Ning Shu did not finish the free drink. Ning Shu smiled. I don't like drinking. And it's too noisy here. Oh, you're a good girl. The lady boss teased. Ning Shu was speechless. Yes, good girl. Ning Shu nodded very shamelessly. The lady boss played with Ning Shu's hair bun. A leaf stretched out. The lady boss thought it was some kind of hair ornament and did not care. Ning Shu quickly avoided her hand. Don't mess up my hair bun. You must have become a mission enforcer at a very young age. So pitiful. You died at such a young age. The lady boss sighed. It's better to be human. Mediocre and ordinary. You can start over after you die. This was the bad thing about being young. Others would think that she was immature. Ning Shu did not think so. He struggled for an ordinary life and then started to be reincarnated. No one knew what his next life would be like. But everyone had their own thoughts. Ning Shu did not refute. When he was ordinary, he hoped that he was unique and strong. He did not have to worry about food, clothing, housing, and transportation. Money. He thought of himself as a different firework. He could not bear the strong pressure that came one after another. It made him feel that he might as well be an ordinary person and live a peaceful and happy life. Go away, you money. Everyone longed for things they did not have. I'll only let you go after you finish this glass of wine today. Otherwise, I won't let you go. There has never been a precedent of leaving without finishing a glass of wine. So, you can't set this precedent. The lady boss pushed the wine glass in front of Ning Shu. Ning Shu looked at the dark green wine. He could not help but think of the scene of a caterpillar being squashed and the green juice splattering out. Ning Shu's throat gurgled. This bath water was hard to swallow. Why did you give me green? Ning Shu was also tired. Isn't this color cute? In the end, Ning Shu did not finish the glass of wine and left the bar. It was too noisy. He felt like vomiting. This kind of music reached the depths of his soul, making his soul tremble. Ning Shu went to a restaurant in the city of water and ordered something to eat. His mouth was full of the taste of wine. He ordered some light dishes and pastries. Ning Shu was eating when the lady boss, Shu Bai, came downstairs. She walked straight to Ning Shu and sat opposite her. Ning Shu asked the waiter to bring an extra pair of chopsticks. Let me treat you. You don't seem to be in good spirits. Shu Bai wanted to say something but hesitated. Then, she seemed to have forgotten what to say. She opened her mouth and said, City Lord, please eat first. Ning Shu ate slowly. From time to time, he would look at Shu Bai, who was frowning. In any case, he should wait for her to finish eating before appearing. Otherwise, it would be like eating a bitter melon. Ning Shu felt that Shu Bai must have encountered something. Since she came to find him, it should be something that was hard to talk about. If she did not say it, Ning Shu would not force her to say it. As long as the other party did not say anything, she would not be in trouble. Ning Shu ate alone happily. Shu Bai did not even move her chopsticks. The atmosphere at the table was a little strange. The passers-by could not help but take a few more glances. /BK Chapter 2979. While Ning Shu was eating, Shu Bai looked at Ning Shu with a bitter face. She didn't say anything, and Ning Shu didn't say anything either. Recently, she always didn't say anything whenever she met someone. Ning Shu said, Don't tell me you also like me? Shu Bai was stunned for a moment before she shook her head. No. Then why do you look like you want to say something? What do you want to say? Ning Shu said helplessly. He put down his chopsticks and wiped his hands with a handkerchief. If it was Zhang Jiasen, he would have directly thrown the bowl over and crushed it a few times. However, it was a beautiful woman like Shu Bai. Ning Shu didn't have any enmity with her, so he definitely wouldn't do that. City Lord, are you full? Shu Bai asked. Ning Shu said, how can I be full? He didn't feel full when he was in his soul state. He just ate to satisfy his cravings. When he chewed, he could also release his stress. Shu Bai asked the waiter to serve a few more dishes. The dishes were all very exquisite and looked very expensive. It was obvious that they were the restaurant's signature dishes. City Lord, have a taste. Ning Shu looked at Shu Bai. She was sure that Shu Bai had something to do with her. Shu Bai must have something she needed her help with. Ning Shu picked up his chopsticks and started eating. Shu Bai stared at Ning Shu and asked, City Lord, is it delicious? Ning Shu nodded. It's delicious. You should eat some too. Shu Bai also picked up her chopsticks and ate with Ning Shu. She even warmed up some wine. This wine was cold and clean, like a pure spirit spring. It had a faint wine fragrance. It wasn't the dark green color that he saw at the bar. Ning Shu asked, is this wine brewed with the water of the reincarnation pool? Since when was the water of the reincarnation pool so easy to obtain? It could be used to brew wine. Back then, the reincarnation pool was born in the Nine Palace Mountain. It was quite tragic. Such a precious thing was actually used to brew wine. Shu Bai was stunned for a moment. No. City Lord, did you go to a bar? I heard that the alcohol there is brewed with the water from the pond of reincarnation. Although I don't know what dangers there are, it's better for City Lord not to drink that kind of alcohol. Shu Bai warned. It doesn't matter if you don't drink much, but if you drink too much, even if the proportion of the water from the pond of rebirth is relatively small, it will still accumulate in your soul. Although it can resolve your worries and forget your worries, how can a person not encounter unpleasant things in their life? It's not something that can be resolved by drinking. Unexpectedly, Shu Bai gave Ning Shu a heartwarming chicken soup for the soul. Ning Shu nodded. That's true. I didn't drink it after tasting it. Shu Bai poured a cup of clean wine for Ning Shu. Ning Shu said, didn't you say that you don't drink? This wine is different from that wine. Just treat it as a drink. Shu Bai took a sip and smacked her lips. Obviously, she didn't know how to drink. Ning Shu was speechless. She was accompanying him to drink and eat. If Shu Bai didn't have anything to say to him, then she must be lonely and cold. That's why she insisted on accompanying him to eat. Ning Shu drank a little wine and ate a big meal. There was no reason for Shu Bai to speak first. Shu Bai didn't speak until the meal was over. Ning Shu was a little surprised. Could it be that she was really lonely and cold, so she specially accompanied him to eat? Ning Shu stood up and was about to leave the table to pay the bill. Shu Bai panicked and immediately called out to her. Ning Shu sat down again. Treat this meal as my treat, City Lord, Shu Bai said. Ning Shu nodded. Thank you. I'll treat you to a meal next time. Treating someone to a meal was a form of reciprocation. Shu Bai shook her head and fanned herself with her round fan. She fanned herself a little too quickly. It was obvious that she had something on her mind. Ning Shu drank his tea leisurely. He wasn't in a hurry. Shu Bai finally opened her mouth. She said to Ning Shu, City Lord, can you please protect Shu Bai? Ning Shu was surprised. Protection? Did she mean that she needed a protective umbrella? Didn't Shu Bai have a protective umbrella behind her back? Was it really a good idea to find another protective umbrella? Ning Shu put down the teacup and directly expressed the doubts in her heart. Don't you have someone protecting you? It's not good to find someone else. Although I don't know the person behind you, if we meet one day, it will be awkward for everyone. Shu Bai wasn't someone who didn't know how to conduct herself. Shu Bai's face was a little bitter. There won't be a day when we meet. Something happened to him. Ning Shu was speechless. So, the powerful person behind Shu Bai died? If something happened to a mission enforcer, his soul would scatter and he wouldn't have a chance to start over. Stepping on this path was completely a gamble. He couldn't afford to lose. Ning Shu was a little shocked that a powerful person like Shu Bai had met with an accident. No wonder Shu Bai was so shy and couldn't open her mouth. Asking for help was the most difficult thing in the world. Asking for help meant that one was useless and had to sacrifice something. Because something happened, Shu Bai had no choice but to find another protective umbrella. Ning Shu was a little sad. He was a little depressed like Shu Bai. He didn't know how powerful Shu Bai's protective umbrella was in the past. It allowed her to open a restaurant with peace of mind. Shu Bai's expression was a little sad. I gave up the thorny path and chose to live a peaceful and happy life. However, there is a price to pay. If I'm so weak and don't have anyone to protect me, life will be difficult. If something happens one day, I won't be able to rely on myself. Ning Shu drank a mouthful of tea. Are you regretting it? Regretting that you didn't become stronger and had to beg for help like this? What's there to regret? I don't regret it. Everything has a price. I chose to live a peaceful and happy life, so I have to pay the price at this time. When others become stronger, they will be respected at this time. Was there a way to have both in this world? There were two forks in the road. If one chose one, it was impossible to walk both paths at the same time. Ning Shu tidied up her skirt and said indifferently, I might not be as strong as you think. I might not be able to protect you at all. You should find someone else. If she really chose to protect Shu Bai, then she would have a responsibility to Shu Bai. She would add another responsibility to her burden for no reason. Ning Shu expressed that she wouldn't pressure herself if she could. Moreover, Ning Shu had a clear understanding of her own strength. She didn't want to have another responsibility. She and Shu Bai were just acquaintances. They hadn't reached the point where they could rely on each other. Did Shu Bai trust her? Shu Bai shook her head and said, Shu Bai only wants to open a restaurant in Water City. You are the city lord of Water City. Of course, you are strong enough to protect me. Actually, many people know you after you caused a ruckus. With you protecting the restaurant, I am very relieved, said Shu Bai. You will take 30% of the restaurant's net profits. I only hope that the city lord can appear when something happens to the restaurant and protect it. Shu Bai clearly stated the remuneration. This was equivalent to paying tribute. I will pay tribute to you and you will be responsible for protecting me. If something happens to the restaurant, you will have to appear and deal with the restaurant. Chapter 2980. Even if nothing happened to the restaurant, the tribute would still be endless. She was looking for a backer, but not for free. She had to acknowledge a boss. Ning Shu was a little tempted when he heard that he could get 30% of the money. However, if something happened, he had to be the first to take responsibility. The money was not for free. Ning Shu did not expect that one day, someone would come to ask him to be their backer. This meant that he was now someone with some power. Ning Shu shook his head. Forget it. You can find someone else. I'm busy. Shu Bai immediately said, I don't need you to protect me all the time. I just need you to help me when I'm in danger. I won't trouble you for ordinary small matters. Ning Shu was quite tempted by the money, but he still said, I have a lot of enemies. If you really ask me to be your backer, there might be more people who will come to cause trouble. In the circle of nomological law incarnations, she was almost untouchable. She did not know why she could not get along with this group of people, especially when they had collectively targeted her last time and killed the Earth nomological law incarnation. Many people had been punished because of this. In short, if something really happened to her, this group of nomological law incarnations would probably set off firecrackers to celebrate. Shu Bai smiled and covered her mouth with a round fan, revealing the bridge of her nose and a pair of watery eyes. She still had the reserved and hazy look of a pipa covering half of her face. When she smiled like this, she was quite devastatingly beautiful. City Lord, I'm not stupid. I won't go around telling everyone that you're my backer. If a backer is exposed, then it's not a backer anymore. Under normal circumstances, no one would come to stir up trouble. However, it's more reassuring to have someone to rely on. Therefore, you don't have to worry about people coming to cause trouble. I can solve those small problems myself. Therefore, City Lord, do you want to be my backer and let me rely on you? Shu Bai relaxed and actually became a little mischievous. She probably saw that Ning Shu was a little tempted and was now just short of convincing him. Ning Shu's status was equivalent to the restaurant's consecrate. He would be given some money to protect the restaurant. Ning Shu thought for a moment and asked, "May I ask how much profit the restaurant makes in a month?" If he could only get 1 or 200 merit points, Ning Shu would not have bothered. With such a small amount, he did not want to take on this responsibility. Shu Bai said, "That depends on the business." Ever since the restrictions were imposed, the flow of people in the various law cities has decreased. Naturally, business is not as good as before. Business is sometimes good and sometimes bad. However, it can allow the city lord to obtain more than 50,000 merit points. Even if he took 30% of the 50,000 merit points, the net profit of the restaurant would only be about 200,000. The business of the restaurant was indeed not very good, but he could earn an additional 50,000 to 60,000 merit points every month, so he had accumulated quite a lot. Furthermore, the restaurant might not necessarily run into trouble. If it did, the amount of merit points accumulated would not be small. It was only natural for her to take action. Buying insurance for the restaurant, of course, insurance was not necessarily insurance. Shu Bai's previous backer was in trouble, and the money she had invested previously was gone. Ning Shu did not even dare to take this small amount of money. He was afraid that he would be crippled. What was the point of working so hard? Since she dared to ask for it, then she dared to accept it. Since you trust me, then let's do it. Ning Shu directly made the decision. Shu Bai immediately smiled. "Thank you, City Lord. From today onwards, we are one." Shu Bai returned a document to Ning Shu. It was considered a share certificate. The money given every month was equivalent to shares, and the money given every month was equivalent to the shares. Ning Shu took the document and clinked glasses with Shu Bai. It was considered a cooperation. Shu Bai seemed to have solved the problem in her heart and relaxed. She was in the mood to tease Ning Shu. There were many candidates, but in the end, she was chosen. Firstly, it was Water City. She was doing business in Water City, so she was under her protection. Secondly, she was strong enough. Her name was enough to deter those troublemakers. Thirdly, Shu Bai felt that this person's character was not bad. She had a good impression of him after interacting with him. Rather than finding someone difficult to get along with, it was better to find someone pleasing to the eye. Otherwise, she would be supporting a big boss and would feel aggrieved even if she spent money. Ning Shu was quite happy that she actually made a deal when she came to eat. The disgusting feeling she had when she met Zhang Jiasen dissipated a little. Being treated as a backer was an acknowledgement of her strength. She was starting to get excited. After leaving the restaurant, Ning Shu went to learn about prophecies. This time, when he entered the city, all kinds of prophecies did not appear. It was obvious that he had been tested before. Ning Shu did not know how to comprehend things like prophecies. Should he throw copper coins? He learned some Maoshan technique and used spells to know some things. He did not know if there were any similar things used as a medium to predict good fortune or bad luck when he learned about prophecies. Ning Shu took out the copper coins. He thought about something and then began to divine. It showed that it was fierce. Ning Shu was speechless. It was not reliable at all. She was only predicting her next mission. How was it fierce? Even if it was not safe and auspicious, it should be a frightened but not dangerous one and return safely. But what did it mean by fierce? Ning Shu picked up the copper coins, squatted by the side of the road, and threw it again. It was still fierce. Ning Shu was in trouble. It did not matter whether the road ahead was good or bad. It affected his mentality. Ning Shu calculated other things. Anyway, he did not believe the results. He did not know if it was accurate. He probably had not figured out the law of this law yet. He needed time to comprehend it. Ning Shu repeatedly confirmed the deduction in his heart. The result was that the Cheongsam man was no longer in the restaurant. He either went to do a mission or went to the void to look for something. In short, he was no longer in the restaurant. He did not know if it was right. Of course, he needed to confirm it. Ning Shu immediately ran to the Cheongsam man's restaurant and asked the waiter, "Is your boss here?" "Yes, upstairs," the waiter said. Ning Shu felt his face burning. The prediction was not accurate. The Cheongsam man leaned against the railing upstairs. Ning Shu asked, "Why are you looking for me? Do you need me to send you something to purify?" Ning Shu looked at her from the corner of his eyes and then ran away. He returned to the city of prophecies and recomprehended it. She did not realize it at all. She hurriedly made a prediction and slapped herself in the face. The stronger the person, the more difficult it was to make a prediction. Next time, she would make a smaller prediction. Perhaps she would predict that an ant would crawl in front of her. This kind of trivial prediction would definitely be accurate. Anyway, Ning Shu did not make random predictions. After predicting the Cheongsam man's movements, he felt that some of his soul power had been sucked away. Could it be that prophecies required power and soul power was also power? Then the mission taker who had the mark of the law of prophecy should not consume his power. Zhang Jiasun also became the city lord of Wu. Chapter 2982. I don't care if you look good or not. I don't care if you look good or not. If you weren't the world tree, I would have thrown you to the ground. Ning Shu took out the spirit stone and began to absorb the spiritual power in it. When he was almost done, he used the fire pearl to refine it. He removed the impurities and purified the spiritual power. When the absorption speed of the spirit stone slowed down and was full, Ning Shu stopped. After refining, he expanded his sea of consciousness. Only by expanding his sea of consciousness could it contain more spiritual power. After hammering and patching, he managed to expand his sea of consciousness a little. Ning Shu planned to earn some extra money, such as soul crystals. Even if he didn't have soul crystals, he could look for other things. There were many void worlds. Recently, Elder Qi was hiding and didn't dare to come out. He couldn't buy a passage to the void world. He didn't even have the chance to search for treasures. Ning Shu was a little worried that Elder Qi was obliterated. She still wanted to ask Elder Qi about the space law. The organization wouldn't kill him, right? After all, Elder Qi could make a lot of money for the organization. It should be fine. Besides the void world, there were no other places to search for treasures. As for searching for treasures, it was basically impossible. There might not be anything in a world. There were more treasures in the void world. Where could she get soul power? Ning Shu thought about it and decided to go to the second level of the Nine Palace Mountain. Now that her spiritual power had expanded, she could scan a large area and find out if there were small workshops. If there was a small workshop, she might be able to get some soul fluid. Traveling around a world was a simple and easy thing. Maybe Yilin was still collecting soul fluid, but he might not have searched every place, especially the secret places. Now she seemed to have become competitors with Yilin. Both of them were fighting to collect soul fluid. There was probably very little soul fluid in that world. She also went to the fourth level to see if there were any beastmen. Ning Shu entered the world of reincarnation and saw mermaids floating around. They were very beautiful. These mermaids were in groups. No matter where they went, they would go together. This group of beauties was even more spectacular. The colorful scales were especially eye-catching in this gloomy world. They were really beautiful. Ning Shu looked at these obedient and good-looking creatures and revealed a mysterious smile. However, when these mermaids saw Ning Shu, they immediately swam away. They looked at Ning Shu as if he was a witch. However, Ning Shu still revealed a mysterious smile as he looked at the beautiful mermaid. When he looked at the other souls, he felt that it was a little painful to the eyes, especially the souls of the pig people. Ning Shu was a little surprised that the mermaid did not jump into the rebirth pool. To the naked eye, the rebirth pool was water. The mermaid who lived in the water didn't jump in. Ning Shu walked to the front of the weeds. The weeds that he had planted before were a little withered, but they had sprouted new buds. They were clearly alive. There were actually quite a few souls hiding in this patch of weeds. Ning Shu was thinking whether he should plant some fruit trees that could survive in the world of samsara. It could absorb the power of souls floating in the world of samsara. If the fruit had rich power of souls, he would send it to be purified. Although there would occasionally be one or two wild fruits in the world of samsara that seemed to have some power of souls. However, this was not what Ning Shu wanted. Sword King stood motionless beside the rebirth pool. The souls that jumped into the rebirth pool couldn't help but glance at him. There was also a mischievous soul that said to Sword King, "Brother, why don't you jump first? Let's see you queue up first. Sword King didn't say a word. The Kirin covered in lightning was snoring not far away. It had fallen asleep. Ning Shu felt that he should plant some fruits in the morning and let the Thunder Kirin guard it. Otherwise, he would sleep every day. Ning Shu suddenly thought of something. What did the Thunder Kirin eat? He had never seen the Thunder Kirin eat. What did it eat? Did it never eat? Ning Shu wanted to ask, but the Thunder Kirin was sleeping and he was too lazy to wake it up. It was fine as long as it didn't starve to death. Ning Shu entered the world of samsara and asked Li Si, "Is there anything wrong with the 2 rebirth pools?" Li Si touched his shiny golden head and said, "It's okay. There's no problem for the time being. I guess the 2 rebirth pools scattered the souls. They won't give birth to any misfortune beast soon." "Well, madam." Li Si was a little hesitant. He didn't know what to say. When she saw him like this, Ning Shu was reminded of Shu Bai. Shu Bai had always looked like she wanted to say something but was hesitant. Ning Shu didn't say anything. He waited for Li Si to speak. It wasn't her business. Why was she in a hurry to speak? She had to be proper. Ning Shu turned the umbrella handle and looked at the rebirth pool. Li Si first touched his head with one hand. Then he used both hands to rub his head. He looked very silly. Li Si stammered, "I want to jump into the rebirth pool to be reincarnated." Ning Shu was very calm. He knew that Li Si had a knot in his heart. "Do you think you can find your master through the rebirth pool? But I've been here for so long and I haven't seen you. I think there's a higher chance of seeing you through the rebirth pool." Li Si felt guilty when he said this. He felt sorry for his madam. Ning Shu knew that Li Si was thinking about the fool Pai Lupi. He was not surprised that he made such a request. He had to make him give up. Li Si's fate with his master was over. Ning Shu said, "Let's not talk about whether you can reincarnate or not. Even if you can, you'll have forgotten everything. How can you find your pearl? Can you rely on telepathy? Secondly, your soul has already penetrated deep into your bone marrow. It's fused with your bones. How can you reincarnate with your bones?" Ning Shu had spent a lot of effort to cultivate Li Si. Now that his employee wanted to jump ship and go back to his old boss, he had to do his best to keep him. Li Si did not say anything. Ning Shu knew that he was uncomfortable. He said, "You can try jumping into the rebirth pool. Try jumping in." He would not give up until he tried. Li Si looked at Ning Shu. "Can I really jump in?" "You can try. If you can reincarnate, then you can go ahead." If he could reincarnate, then he lost. Li Si got Ning Shu's permission. He pouted and jumped into the rebirth pool with a splash. He flopped around in the rebirth pool. As long as a soul jumped into the rebirth pool, it would quickly submerge. However, Li Si could not submerge. But anything that jumped into the rebirth pool would be purified by the rebirth pool. The golden merit on Li Si's body gradually faded. It was like a canvas that had been exposed to water. Li Si saw that the situation was not right. He quickly climbed into the rebirth pool. His body was dripping with water. Some parts of his bones had turned white. It revealed the original color of his bones. Ning Shu's heart ached. That was merit. Who knew how much merit he had lost with this jump? /BK. Chapter 2984. Even if some of the methods to obtain power were a bit evil, there would still be people who would do it. After going to a bigger city, she found out that the dynasty was also cracking down on the matter of refining soul fluid. This kind of thing was classified as evil and crooked. Using human souls to refine soul fluid was, of course, evil and crooked. Even the rulers had to crack down on this kind of behavior for the sake of the people. Ning Shu raised her eyebrows. It seemed that human rights were slowly rising now. It was no longer like before, where people were enslaved when they were alive and their souls were forever destroyed after death. Although people were still divided into different grades and ranks, human death was fair. If one wanted to live longer, they had to cultivate immortality. If they were really strong, they could live for a few thousand years or even 10,000 years. Ning Shu sat in a restaurant and listened to the storyteller's story. His saliva was flying all over the place. The content of the story was about her destroying a few cities. In the past, she had the image of a red-haired demoness, but now she was actually written as a righteous person. Ning Shu found it a bit funny. Was this trying to whitewash her? Thinking about it, it was normal. The change of dynasty was all based on overthrowing the previous one and building a new one. The rulers of the previous dynasties did this. If they denied her actions, they would be denying the ruler. The rulers all thought that they were the true dragon, the son of heaven. Everything they did was righteous, even if it was a rebellion. In short, Ning Shu unexpectedly started to whitewash herself. Although she was still called the red-haired demoness, the meaning was not quite the same. Some versions even described her as a fairy because after destroying the cities, this person basically did not appear much. Some people thought that she had returned to heaven. Ning Shu touched her face. She liked the word fairy. To rationalize her actions from a certain perspective, it was also for the needs of the ruler. If one day someone rebelled, they might take out the red-haired demoness name and say that the act of rebellion was changing rotten things. Ning Shu did not care whether the ordinary people had a good or bad impression of her. She would not rebel, nor would she live in this world. Since the imperial court was cracking down on this kind of crooked path, then those who wanted to refine soul fluid would not do it in the cities and villages with great fanfare. They would definitely do it secretly. Therefore, she had to go to a hidden mountain or some dangerous place where people rarely went. Few people went to these places, so it was not easy to be discovered. Ning Shu raised a finger to the sky. There was no benefit in asking for help, not even a bit of merit. Boom! A thunderclap sounded in the sky, followed by a torrential downpour. Ning Shu was speechless. She had quite a temper. Ning Shu held the black bone umbrella, but the rain was so heavy that the umbrella was deformed. Ning Shu saw a temple. Recently, there were many different kinds of religions in this world. All kinds of temples were being built. He worshipped an immortal whose name he couldn't name. Perhaps some cultivator flew over and was seen by others. They thought that he was an immortal, so they started to worship him. I'll pray for nothing. Once a person was free and satisfied with their basic physiological needs, they would have spiritual pursuits. However, this kind of temple was soon abandoned. People liked the new and hated the old. Ning Shu walked into the temple. There was a group of little radish heads in the temple. The older ones were in their 20s, while the younger ones were 8 or 9 years old. Recently, the sect was recruiting in the capital city. These children were probably there to participate in the sect's recruitment. If they were seen by an immortal, they would reach the heavens in a single step. They would sever all ties with the short life of an ant in the mortal world. If the sect really took a look at them, they would reward their families handsomely. For something like immortal cultivation, one had to sever their ties with the mortal world. They would gradually distance themselves from their family. When their family's lifespan was up, they would still be alive. Gradually, they would lose their ties with the mortal world. Ning Shu's soul was now strong. He looked like a real person at a glance. When the people in the temple saw Ning Shu holding the umbrella, the older ones were wary, while the younger ones stared at Ning Shu. Ning Shu shook the rain off the umbrella. He felt that the heavens were doing this on purpose. Although there was a barrier that allowed him to walk freely, Ning Shu was not in a hurry. He was here for a vacation. Ning Shu sat at the side. The sky was gradually darkening. The rain was still heavy, and the small temple was leaking rain. The water dripped onto the ground. Some of the youths stared at Ning Shu from time to time. Clearly, they were very good. Ning Shu felt that it was fortunate that he was not wearing red clothes. Otherwise, these youths would be trembling in fear when they saw him. The red-clothed demoness was widely spread. Some of the older ones warned the younger ones, "Don't look. This is the wilderness." A lone woman appeared here. She's not a spirit. She's a fox spirit that eats people's hearts. In this world with many spirit beasts, all kinds of spirits and spirit beasts were very scary. There were many stories about spirit beasts that turned into human forms to harm people, eat people's hearts, cheat people's feelings, and demon beasts that loved humans. In any case, there were strange stories everywhere. As they spoke, they stared at Ning Shu. Ning Shu and the rest smiled, scaring these people into trembling. The sky was gradually darkening. He did not know why the heavens had trapped her here. Ning Shu felt that it was better to stay in the temple. Actually, it could not trap her. She was a water dharma. This bit of rain could not do anything to her. However, Ning Shu let nature take its course. I'm not afraid. You can do whatever you want. In the middle of the night, everyone was asleep. A 7 or 8-year-old little radish head tiptoed. Ning Shu walked over and placed a pancake in front of her. Ning Shu was expanding his sea of consciousness. Seeing this, he opened his eyes and looked at him. The little radish head did not expect Ning Shu to suddenly open his eyes. She was shocked and almost cried. With a sobbing tone, she stuttered, Don't eat me. I'll give you a pancake to eat." Ning Shu said, "Take it back. I'm not hungry. You're going to participate in the sect recruitment, right?" "Yes, I think I can become an immortal." Ning Shu used his spiritual energy to scan his bone structure. His bone structure was not good. He had 3 spirit roots, but he was the only one here with spirit roots. If he worked hard, he could build his foundation and become a golden core. If he wanted to climb higher, it would depend on luck. Ning Shu nodded. "You can become an immortal." Thank you. When the little radish head heard that she could become an immortal, she was especially happy. She felt that Ning Shu might be an immortal too. She asked, "Other than me, who else can become an immortal here? I'm not responsible for looking at other people." Ning Shu said indifferently. "Oh." The little radish head scratched her head. She mustered up her courage and said to Ning Shu, "You must be a fairy. I heard that fairies are all very beautiful." Of course, female demons were also very beautiful. Little Radish did not dare to say that. Ning Shu liked people with good taste. Although her head was green, her face now was much better looking than before. She had 3 law imprints on her body, and 1 law. /BK. Chapter 2985. His temperament was completely different. Sometimes, a person's face was not the most important thing, but temperament was. Temperament was unique, just like a label. Ning Shu looked at the little radish head with a pleasant expression. "I am indeed quite good-looking." The little radish head choked and did not know how to respond. Ning Shu waved his hand. "Take the pancakes away, I'm not eating them." Picking up the black bone umbrella, Ning Shu decided to leave the temple. "It's so dark now, are you leaving already? Wait until the sun rises." The little radish head hurriedly called out to Ning Shu. It was so dark, he would definitely encounter some danger. Ning Shu opened the umbrella and turned around. "If I don't leave, no one can leave." Ning Shu walked out of the temple, but after a few steps, he stopped and said indifferently, "Sneaking around until now, still not coming out." A black figure appeared, wearing a straw raincoat. He raised his shiny sword and slashed at Ning Shu. Ning Shu stood still and directly attacked his sea of consciousness with his spiritual energy. The black figure suddenly screamed and stabbed his sword into the ground. He clutched his head and looked as if he was in great pain. "What did you do to me?" He was terrified. Ning Shu floated and walked. He did not want to walk on the ground, in case the rain splashed on him. He walked in front of him. "Do you want to tell me why you killed those people inside, or do you want me to search your soul?" "Searching your soul is very painful." Even if you kill me, I won't say anything." Ning Shu attacked his spiritual energy ball again. The man in the straw raincoat rolled on the ground in pain, covered in mud. Ning Shu could feel a mixed soul force coming from this person. If such a situation occurred, it meant that this person was drinking soul fluid. That was why Ning Shu was competing with him. "I will never tell you." This person was probably in so much pain that he did not want to expose his secret, so he actually killed himself. He slapped his own head and cut off his own life. Ning Shu was speechless. Was he stupid? "Did you hear anything?" "I heard it too. It seems like there's a ghost. Someone is screaming." Some people in the temple woke up and heard the commotion in the forest. They hugged each other and shivered. The little radish head that gave him the pancakes was deeply worried. That fairy had gone out just now. Could something have happened to her? Little radish head wanted to go out and take a look, but he was held back by someone else, so he gave up. Since she was a fairy, she shouldn't be weak. She should be fine. He hadn't become an immortal yet, so he couldn't defeat demons and ghosts. Ning Shu watched as this person's soul floated out of his body. His soul was emitting black smoke. Clearly, this was a soul that had been contaminated. Now, not everyone was willing to be refined into soul fluid. It was only natural that they would no longer resign themselves to being refined into soul fluid. When they were being refined into soul fluid, they would definitely be filled with resentment and resentment. This would increase the negative side effects of the soul, but that kind of physical purification couldn't really purify the soul completely. In other words, if he were to obtain soul fluid now, it would be a completely unprofitable business. It would also cause him to easily fall into a state of chi deviation. It was the same as the idiot Pai Lupi absorbing the soul stone. This person's soul floated out of his body. He wanted to use his soul to escape. At worst, he could just take over another person's body. Even if he was in soul form, he could still live. He even smiled proudly at Ning Shu, taking advantage of Ning Shu's inability to see souls. But soon, he couldn't smile anymore. He found that his soul couldn't move. And the woman in front of him stared straight at him. "Tell me, where is your headquarters?" Ning Shu was very excited because he could get soul fluid. Although the soul fluid was seriously contaminated, it would be a waste not to take it. Previously, she was in the wrong for scolding the villainous heavens. Now, they were giving her something. This person was probably here to kill people, capture their souls, and refine them into soul fluid. "I don't know." The man was still stubborn. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. Did he think that she couldn't do anything to him because he was in soul form? Sometimes soul form hurt more. Feel the pain of your soul being torn apart. Ning Shu directly activated soul search. When soul searching, everything that this person had experienced and secrets were completely revealed in front of Ning Shu. The only thing that was a little unclear was that even this person didn't know where his headquarters was. Every time he went in and out, the surroundings were shrouded in black fog, and he couldn't see clearly. This was a little difficult to find. Ning Shu began to get excited. Since it was so secretive, it must be on a large scale, and there must be a lot of soul fluid. So exciting! Ning Shu let this soul bring him to this place. He wanted to destroy the soul fluid device. Now, this kind of activity had turned into an underground activity. Souls had to go to the world of reincarnation, and it was very difficult to get souls. If he wanted to get souls, he could only kill people. Even a person who collected souls drank so much soul fluid. That organization must have even more soul fluid. This soul had been tortured to death by Ning Shu. He could only follow Ning Shu's instructions and bring Ning Shu to the headquarters. This was a place shrouded in black fog, surrounded by poisonous grass. The trees had no leaves and were bare. When the black fog was thick, one couldn't even see their own fingers. Moreover, it was poisonous. Ordinary people didn't dare to come here. Even if a cultivator came here, it wouldn't be good. Ning Shu directly turned invisible and let this soul bring him in. He also promised that if he brought her in, he would give her a chance to reincarnate. The man sneered at this. "Who do you think you are? A chance to reincarnate? I don't want to reincarnate at all. You can fantasize about it." He brought her here and handed her over to a capable person to deal with. There were many powerful people in the village. Damn, where is she? Why is she gone? Was she swallowed by the poisonous fog? That's good. Keep walking. What are you doing? Ning Shu couldn't help but say when he saw this soul startled. The man was startled. She was still here. Why couldn't he see her body? After walking through the thick black fog, the soul relied on the token to guide the way. Ning Shu followed behind him. After walking for a while, it finally opened up. On the other side of the black fog was a beautiful scenery. There was a huge palace in the canyon. The palace seemed to be surrounded by villages. Some people were still farming. It looked like an ordinary village. "Zhao Jia, how did you become a soul? Were you killed?" A villager saw Zhao Jia's soul and couldn't help but ask in surprise. Zhao Jia's mouth twitched. He didn't know if that person was still by his side. Someone broke in. "Go and inform the elders. Hurry." Out of his love for his hometown and organization, Zhao Jia shouted. He planned to sacrifice himself to inform everyone. When the villagers heard this, their mental state and appearance immediately changed. They became ferocious, took out their weapons, and looked around vigilantly. /BK. Chapter 2986. Ning Shu entered the village and went straight to the palace. There must be a lot of soul fluid in the palace. Ning Shu ignored these villagers. The invisible Ning Shu walked into the palace as if no one was there. Soon, the palace rang a bell, informing all the villagers that someone had invaded. The villagers who were working threw away their hoes and picked up their weapons, swarming towards the palace. Ning Shu saw that the pool was full of soul fluid with black smoke. This was the first time he saw soul fluid like this. The soul fluid before was gray and didn't emit black smoke. Absorbing this kind of soul fluid was no different from courting death. Ning Shu didn't hesitate and collected all the soul fluid in the pool. There was also some distilled soul fluid. Even if it was distilled, it was still very dirty. Ning Shu took them all away and finally destroyed the array formation and the purification device. The people who rushed over saw the vines covering the sky and gritted their teeth. Red Witch. They had already hidden here, but this witch still chased them here. What used to be reasonable and legal was now being criticized. They hid here, but the Red Witch didn't let them go. She was going too far. Red Witch, get out here. Get out here. The soul who committed suicide said weakly, but she's not red, she's white. The surrounding people stared at her angrily. Can't she change her clothes and always wear red? The vines covered the entire palace. As long as she exerted her strength, the entire palace would collapse. Heavens, how can this be? Without soul fluid, we can't live. We can't live without soul fluid. The villagers were shocked and angry. They would absorb some soul fluid from time to time to replenish their withered souls. Without soul fluid, all of them would die. Red Witch, you've done a lot of harm. Protect the palace, we have to live. Kill the murderer. Ning Shu looked at these people who were so wronged that they couldn't control themselves. It was as if he had suffered a great grievance. He suddenly felt a little good. He removed the invisibility barrier and looked at these people. Seeing the person in person, the villagers became even more excited. One by one, they took out their weapons. There were all kinds of weapons, and there were also spiritual energy fluctuations around them. It seemed that they were cultivators. So many self-cultivators had gathered here, yet they insisted on drinking the soul fluid. Ning Shu controlled the vines and exerted a little force, causing a wall to collapse. The villagers' expressions immediately became as painful as if their parents had died. Demoness in red, it doesn't matter if you take the soul fluid, but you cannot destroy the palace. So many people need soul fluid to survive. You destroyed the palace and killed so many people. Do you dare to shoulder such a great karma? The elder stepped forward and looked at Ning Shu. There are also so many children in the village. Ning Shu laughed out loud. Why wouldn't I dare to bear the burden of karma? Your ignoble existence is built on the lives of others. Don't tell me that bandits commit crimes because they have no other choice. Because bandits have to raise children, do you know how hard we work to survive? This statement is not tenable. Ning Shu had just finished speaking when the entire palace collapsed. Whether you die or not has nothing to do with me. You want to kill others, but you don't even have their afterlife. You feel so wronged. So much soul fluid could only be gathered by killing so many people, not to mention the soul fluid absorbed before. The souls of these villagers were mixed and emitted black smoke. Absorbing the soul fluid was like drinking poison to quench one's thirst. The building collapsed. The villagers' faces were filled with despair and defeat. They looked at Ning Shu with extreme resentment and resentment. One by one, they cursed Ning Shu. The curses of people with cultivation were more effective than the curses of ordinary people. Waves of curses floated over to Ning Shu. Suddenly, the soul bell rang. It seemed to shake a little. The crisp sound directly dissolved the curses. These curses dissipated before they could even touch Ning Shu's body. The 500,000 merit points bell was really not bad. Moreover, when the bell rang, Ning Shu felt that his soul had become much clearer. If he fell into some kind of demonic state, he would be able to wake up when he heard the bell. Seeing Ning Shu floating there perfectly fine, so indifferent and emotionless, these villagers gnashed their teeth in hatred. Those are just some weak mortals. It is their honor to be able to offer their souls to us. Ning Shu did not say anything. He was afraid that it was not just mortals. These people actually wanted to get cultivators. Because cultivators' souls were tougher and stronger than mortals without cultivation. Ning Shu stretched out his vines and directly killed the leading elder. This elder seemed to be the leader of this village. The leader died, but these people were like a group of dragons without a leader. Without soul fluid, these people would slowly disappear. When the elder saw these vines, he felt very uneasy. Moreover, he was clear about the demonic woman in red style. He would not be able to escape death. He was already prepared to escape. However, he was still killed before he could react. Elder, heavens, mournful cries and the ignorant cries of children dyed this village with the color of loneliness. There were all kinds of curses. That was the fear and despair when facing death. Not only was it sorrow for the elder, but it was also for their future. Ning Shu kept the vines and directly left. He was too lazy to care about these people. Karma? If it was really karma, the heavenly Tao would not have lured her over. At least there would be some gains. Ning Shu magnanimously forgave the heavenly Tao's scheme. The entire village carried a lot of karma. Hiding, who knows how many people she killed. However, these villagers felt very wronged. They were slaughtering pigs and chickens. You actually want them to pay with their lives. This soul fluid was filled with all kinds of negative things. It was emitting black smoke. Ning Shu did not dare to touch it at all. When he brought it back, the first thing he did was to find the main system to purify it. If it was left in the space, if it spilled, it would invisibly pollute her soul. As soon as Ning Shu left the village, there was a downpour. It directly diluted the thick fog. Without this thing as a protective umbrella, the imperial court and some cultivators would come looking for him. But as soon as he left the village, he ran into Yi Lin. When Yi Lin saw Ning Shu, he also had a complex expression. In particular, when he saw that Ning Shu had become stronger again, just like before, his expression became even more complicated. He always felt that she was playing around. One moment she was strong and the next she was weak. Yi Lin cupped his hands. Senior. Ning Shu nodded. You also came to look for soul fluid. I'll take it first. Yi Lin was alone. Was Bai Sisi not by Yi Lin's side? And what about the young hunter boy? They had been traveling with 3 people before, so why was Yi Lin alone now? But it didn't matter. Ning Shu didn't ask. He only said, have the earthworm come out. Let me catch up with it. /BK. Chapter 2988. At the mention of soul crystals, Ning Shu shook her head. She was lucky this time. If she went back again, His Excellency would eat her up. She didn't dare to challenge the bottom line of these big bosses. If she went overboard, killing her would be as easy as killing an ant. The death of a mission enforcer was insignificant to these people. As expected, there wasn't much soul power after purification. There were too many impurities, so there wasn't much soul power left. He gave some to the Chongsam man. As for the rest, Ning Shu took it back to his system space and stored it. He left some to prevent any problems with the soul in the future. It was better to have some in stock. The chat system dinged. Ning Shu opened it. It was from His Excellency. Usually, she was the one looking for His Excellency. His Excellency rarely looked for her. Even if he looked for her, it was because he had something to do with her. She sent a picture. Ning Shu opened it. It was a picture of a baby. The baby was wearing a red tutu and had snow-white skin. It was really a good-looking baby. Ning Shu's mind flashed. This is the black fog, right? It transformed so quickly? Ning Shu suddenly realized why His Excellency sent him a picture. It was to show off the baby. His Excellency replied, it's because I taught it well. Ning Shu nodded. Yes, it's because you taught it well. Is it a boy or a girl? The doo-doo covered that area. Ning Shu didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. He secretly wanted a girl. After all, This child was an existence that balanced the world of reincarnation. Girls were easy to get along with. He was really fed up with those people who were born naturally. It must be a pretty good girl. She ate countless souls with her mouth. After that, she turned into a cute little girl. Ning Shu felt that it was really cute. His Excellency, why are you so shallow? First, you asked about the gender. Ning Shu? How was it shallow to ask about the gender? After asking clearly, she could decide how to treat this child. Ning Shu, does the child not have a gender? So he didn't ask. His Excellency didn't want to answer. Ning Shu changed the topic. It's not important whether it's a boy or a girl. Since it has successfully transformed, it can come back. The world of reincarnation needs it. Abyssal Prefect. Ning Shu could tell from the long string of ellipses that Abyssal Prefect Qin Ye's emotions. Ning Shu sighed and said, after all, this child was born in this world of reincarnation. Her mission is in this world. If you like her, you can come and see her at any time. Abyssal Prefect. Ning Shu continued, you know, there is nothing in my world now. I can only rely on this child. Abyssal Prefect. You want this child to stay in that tiny little world of yours? If anything happens in such a small world, you can't even solve it yourself. How can you be so useless? The Abyssal Prefect was like an old mother whose child was about to be snatched away. He probably didn't expect that someone would want to snatch his child away from him. Bad guy. Ning Shu said, I am indeed incompetent, but the balance of the world depends on him. Abyssal Prefect. You want to enslave such a small child? You are rotten. Ning Shu, I have no choice. The main thing is that there is no power in the world of reincarnation. I can only rely on this child. If something happens in the world of reincarnation, this child will also be in trouble. No, nothing will happen to him. He will be useful. You don't have to worry about him. Ning Shu felt that if she continued to discuss with Abyssal Prefect Qin Yi, Abyssal Prefect Qin Yi would blacklist her and they would never see each other again. Ning Shu said, calm down. If there is power in my world of reincarnation, this child can stay with you as long as he wants. If something happens in the world of reincarnation and he appears, he can do whatever he wants. Abyssal Prefect was silent for a while. Don't you want the method of making skeletons? You are beating around the bush. Hypocritical and disgusting. Ning Shu slightly raised the corner of his mouth and said, when can I take him back? I will take good care of him. How will you take care of him? Abyssal Prefect asked. Ning Shu, in the world of reincarnation he can do whatever he wants. Abyssal Prefect, you are so relaxed. You don't care about the danger the child will encounter. Ning Shu, what danger? In the world of reincarnation, all the souls were his food. He was the most dangerous one. Abyssal Prefect was really unreasonable and protective of his child. Abyssal Prefect, come over here. Ning Shu asked carefully, what for? Abyssal Prefect, don't you want the method of making skeletons? I will tell you. Ning Shu's heart beat wildly. I can't come to you. Can you make a space tunnel? Abyssal Prefect, why are you so useless? You are so weak. How can you have the nerve to ask? Aren't you ashamed? Ning Shu, no. Knowing that Abyssal Prefect was angry, Ning Shu magnanimously forgave him. After a while, a black door with carved patterns appeared in front of him. Ning Shu opened the black bone umbrella and walked through the black door. The moment Ning Shu entered, the door closed and disappeared. Ning Shu appeared in a world of reincarnation. Moreover, he appeared in a sea of flowers. All kinds of flowers swayed in the wind. It was a magnificent, terrifying sight. He walked to the front of the house. This palace was built very big and very tall. The pillars were so tall that they reached the black clouds. This building was probably built according to Abyssal Prefect's original size. She was like an ant standing in front of a 100-story building. She couldn't understand this majesty. Poverty limited imagination. Ning Shu walked into the palace like an ant. He saw a huge chair with white bones. Such a huge chair was actually made of white bones. How many corpses did it take? Ning Shu swallowed a mouthful of saliva. An abyssal prefect in a tuxedo walked out with a chubby child in his arms. When abyssal prefect saw Ning Shu's expression, he still said, "Someone will tell you how to make it later. But you must promise not to restrict him in the future." Ning Shu nodded and looked at the child in his arms. Abyssal prefect tidied up the child's undergarments so that Ning Shu wouldn't see the child's gender. "Ning Shu, what's there to hide? If you don't want me to see, just tell me the child's gender. Why are you being so secretive? Is it really not growing?" Ning Shu was a little depressed. He reached out and said, "Let me hold him. I haven't held him yet." "Is it that important?" Abyssal prefect's expression was indifferent. Ning Shu retracted his hand. He didn't want to argue with Abyssal prefect. Abyssal prefect treated this child like a treasure. Ning Shu didn't have any objections. "You like to carry. /BK." Chapter 2989. If she was asked to take care of a child in a belly band, she would be the first to break down. So Ning Shu was not embarrassed at all when she was rejected. Maybe she couldn't even carry the child, which would be even more embarrassing. She couldn't treat this kind of child as an ordinary child. His Excellency pulled a chair and sat down, holding the child and not letting go. Anyway, he would never get tired of playing with the child. Then he watched the child crawling on the black floor. His Excellency held his head and stared at the child. Ning Shu stood without a chair. His Excellency didn't care that there were guests in his house. His Excellency didn't speak. Ning Shu waited. His Excellency had promised to tell her anyway. So Ning Shu stood quietly and looked at His Excellency's palace. How much manpower did it take to build such a huge palace? And where did he find such a pure black floor? It was so black that it reflected light. It was obviously high-end. She didn't know if she could build such a high-end palace for the child in the future. Ning Shu suddenly thought of something and asked His Excellency, "What will the child look like when he grows up?" He hasn't reached the battle mode yet. What kind of magnificent body can he transform into in your worldlet? His Excellency took the opportunity to mock Ning Shu. Ning Shu nodded and said carelessly, "Yes, you're right." "Will he transform into something like you in the future? Would he also be a big yiksha?" "Of course, it's best for me to be like this. It's best for fighting. But do you have any dissatisfaction?" His Excellency looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu said, "No, I don't have any dissatisfaction." Ning Shu was more than happy to have someone take care of the child for her and teach him step by step. Instead, she felt that she had taken advantage of him. Furthermore, as an abyssal prefect, as a fellow abyssal prefect, would be able to guide the child better. As for the child being close to His Excellency in the future, Ning Shu didn't think it was a big deal. As long as he fulfilled his responsibilities in the world of samsara, he could do whatever he wanted. After work, no one would care what he did. And His Excellency kept the child from contacting her. He was probably afraid that the child would have feelings for her. Ning Shu. Facing the yaksha that could eat him at any time, he couldn't develop any feelings. The abyssal prefect squinted his eyes and wiped the saliva from the child's mouth with a handkerchief. Originally, it was the child's responsibility to maintain the stability of the world of reincarnation. Regardless of whether it was the birth of the world of reincarnation or the excessive number of souls, the world of reincarnation was affected. They should deal with it. The reason why creatures like Bonehead were born was to reduce the workload of abyssal prefects and also to deal with the planar worms. These things were all painstakingly done by His Excellency. Of course, His Excellency didn't want this child to suffer like him in the future. Now that someone was willing to shoulder the responsibility of raising a child and do what a child should do, the abyssal prefect was naturally happy. That was why an abyssal prefect was willing to tell her the method of creating skeletons, allowing her to bear the responsibility of raising the child. Secondly, the abyssal prefect would owe her a favor, and in the future, he wouldn't be so lenient with the child. With this as the condition. In short, both sides felt that they had gained an advantage. Ning Shu obtained the method to create the skeletons, while the abyssal prefect obtained custody of the child. Ning Shu saw that the abyssal prefect didn't say anything. He called her over but didn't say anything. Ning Shu wasn't in a hurry either. Anyway, there was plenty of time now. Eternal life could be used as a tempering of the mind. He wasn't in a hurry. He was as calm as water. Big boss, big boss. The voice of skeletons sounded outside the hall. Then, many skeletons with shining golden bodies came in. As soon as these skeletons came in, they immediately bowed to the Abyssal Prefect and then called Ning Shu a beauty. The Abyssal Prefect carried the child and left. Before he left, he said to the skeletons, "Tell her the method to create skeletons." The skeletons received the order and stood in a neat row. When the Abyssal Prefect left, these skeletons praised Ning Shu for being beautiful and tall. Ning Shu accepted the praise with a smile and said, "You are also very handsome. Please tell me the secret of your birth." Ning Shu was a bit impatient. In the past, he had pestered the Abyssal Prefect for a long time, but the Abyssal Prefect didn't agree. This time, because of the child, there was an opportunity. The skeleton said, "First, you have to know that we were born from the soul of obsession. So the first thing we have to do is to find the corpse of a dead person, especially the kind that has just died. It has both a bit of vitality and a bit of death aura." Ning Shu asked, "Then do you remember the past?" "I don't remember. Under the extreme pain, these memories have been shattered." The skeleton said, "Ning Shu, souls with deep obsession had things that they couldn't let go of. The obsession that accumulated over time was deeply rooted. This kind of soul was difficult to purify even in the reincarnation pool. Even if it was eaten, it didn't taste good. Probably even the Abyssal Prefect didn't like to eat this kind of soul. This kind of soul with deep obsession would increase the burden of the world of reincarnation. Since this kind of soul had deep obsession, it was very suitable to be made into a skeleton." The skeleton continued, "In addition to finding suitable corpses, you also have to find souls with deep obsession. You have to complete it with complicated spells and magic circles. Moreover, not every soul and skeleton will succeed. The success rate varies. If you don't do it properly, you may fail. Also, the soul may not have enough obsession and can't bear the pain. It will also collapse and the soul will scatter." "Ning Shu, there is no painless method to increase the success rate? The current method is already being improved. If it was in the past, the success rate of 11% would be considered high." Ning Shu nodded. "I know. Please tell me the method and help me find souls with deep obsession. I can give you a reward." Her world of reincarnation was only so big. How could she find souls with deep obsession? Therefore, to find souls with deep obsession, she had to find them in hundreds of millions of planes. "That's easy. I am willing to serve the beauty. How much is the reward?" "It will make those bastards excited and look everywhere for souls with deep obsession." The skeleton's lower jaw opened and closed as it said. Ning Shu thought for a while and said, 5 merit grains. 1 merit grain was 1,000 merit points. Then 5 would be 5,000 merit points. "Okay, then issue the order." A skeleton said and opened the chat system. Then, it began to issue the mission. She didn't expect these skeletons to play the chat system so well. "The mission can't be issued anymore. Wait for those bastards to send the souls over. Also, you need to find corpses. It's best if they are male because their bones are bigger and stronger. In terms of strength, female skeletons are stronger. Therefore, male corpses are preferred. And the corpses of young adults are better than those of old and weak. /BK. Chapter 2990. Ning Shu memorized the words of these skeletons. Another skeleton took out a thick book. "This is the method to create a skeleton army." Ning Shu took the book with both hands. There were some mottled traces on the book, a little like blood stains, but also a little like other filth. But the thing inside was the method to create a skeleton army. If you want to find corpses, it's best to ask the army. They patrol the plains and may know more about which plains are having wars, plagues, disasters, and the like. There will be large-scale deaths. You can go to such places to find corpses and give the army some benefits. Many people are willing to earn extra money. Ning Shu listened very seriously. She felt that these skeletons were really too cute. Telling her these experiences saved her a lot of detours. They really told her with all their heart. Ning Shu thanked them and gave each skeleton 10 merit grains. Tens of thousands of merit grains were distributed. Ning Shu was a little depressed. It was really too expensive. Without the taxes of the Law City, where could she earn money? Rely on picking up garbage? Picking up garbage and fucking owing her wages. Fortunately, there was a tribute now. The money given by Shubai's restaurant might be enough. Moreover, a large sum of commission was about to be distributed. Because the skeletons found the souls with deep obsession, she had to pay the commission. There was also the commission to hire the army. Ning Shu felt that she had to tighten her belt in order to live. She felt that her whole person was not very good. If she was alone, the money she had was enough. But she still had to nurture skeletons. That was a huge amount of merit grains. Ning Shu was speechless. Why am I always a pauper? The taxes of the city were simply Ning Shu's pain in her heart. After the skeletons received the merit grains, although they did not know how to smile, they spoke much more amiably. It could be seen that these skeletons should be the leaders of the skeletons. They could directly meet with His Excellency. To be honest, Ning Shu felt quite flattered. She felt that His Excellency had sent such a skeleton boss to explain to her. He felt that even though His Excellency was a little two-faced, he still kept his promise. Ning Shu asked the question in her heart, if we're looking for male corpses, but if there's a woman in the soul, wouldn't it be incompatible if we also put a man's corpse in there? Actually, it doesn't matter. If you want to find the bones of a woman, it is also possible. The skeleton said. Ning Shu nodded. So that's how it is. So it doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman. Ning Shu sat on the ground and flipped through the notebook page by page, including some details, incantations, and spell formations. Anyway, Ning Shu had never seen something so complicated before. He was dizzy from looking at it, but Ning Shu still remembered it. The boss said that this book is for you. A skeleton said. Ning Shu smiled happily. Thank you. This thick notebook recorded Skeleton's experiences of success and failure. She immediately obtained the best production method. The few skeletons said what they needed to say and then left. Ning Shu sat on the floor and flipped through the pages. Although these things were in his mind, when it came to the actual experiment, Ning Shu estimated that he would still need someone to guide him. Of course, it would cost money. After His Excellency gave the order, he didn't appear again. He probably went to raise the child. So, what was the gender of that child? Ning Shu took the notebook and returned to the system space. In order to be able to successfully arrange such a formation, Ning Shu practiced over and over again. He couldn't wait until it was time to arrange it. When it came to the beginning, he would be in a hurry. If he couldn't draw it, he would lose the corpse and the soul. Souls with deep obsession were not easy to find. Although the bones were easy to find, it had to be the kind that had just died. He had to be in a hurry, so the restrictions were quite large. He had to freeze the bones in an instant, so that the bones could coexist with the vitality and death aura, so that they could wander in the world of reincarnation and the world of the living. Ning Shu finally drew the formation, but his spiritual power was completely drained, and even some of his soul power was taken away. He was dizzy and very uncomfortable. Ning Shu absorbed some spiritual stones and tempered his spiritual power. His spiritual power was no longer empty and uncomfortable. And his spiritual power was slowly recovering and becoming stronger. Ning Shu opened the chat system and looked for Fragrant Wind Man. Fragrant Wind Man was a big boss in the army, so he had to discuss this kind of thing with him. Ning Shu directly stated his intention and wanted to borrow some soldiers to look for corpses. Fragrant Wind Man heard this and asked directly, "How much will you pay my people?" Ning Shu estimated that the army was really short of military funds. 2,000 merit points per person, and I want to know where the corpses are. It's best to call Mo Ming. It was good to cooperate with familiar people. Fragrant Wind Man said directly, "Okay. Since you want to collect corpses, it's best to bring a bigger space. Are you going to start making skeletons?" Ning Shu nodded. Fragrant Wind Man said, "Okay, remember to prepare the reward." Anyway, those people who were resting had nothing to do, so they might as well earn some extra money. Even if they were patrolling the plane, they would do it in shifts. It was impossible to let these soldiers patrol day and night. Other than patrolling, they also had to deal with the problem of broken planes. For example, holding on to lost planes depended on the soldiers. Fragrant Wind Man sent Ning Shu to the void, where the army was waiting for him. As soon as Ning Shu arrived, she saw a large group of soldiers. Everyone was wearing military uniforms. Mo Ming stood at the front with a military cap on his head. He was tall and straight. Ning Shu was speechless. Damn, there were so many people. 1,000 per person. This was definitely not a small number. Ning Shu seriously suspected that Fragrant Wind Man was here to cheat him of his merit points. It was obviously something that didn't require much skill, but it actually involved nearly 500 people. Mo Ming asked Ning Shu, "Can we set off now?" Ning Shu looked at the soldiers behind him and asked, "Do we need so many people? Won't it be a waste of resources?" Mo Ming smiled. "No, we need to split up to find suitable planes. These people are far from enough." Ning Shu nodded. "Then we'll have to trouble you." Mo Ming pointed to a line of people and said, "You guys go over there. One team will follow us. The rest will split up. Be careful when you move. Don't be discovered by the people of the plane. If you find a suitable corpse, freeze it immediately and put it in the space." "Yes." Everyone saluted and then split up, disappearing instantly. He always felt that these soldiers had more advanced technology on their bodies. Ning Shu whispered to Mo Ming, "You're really impressive now. Your body is quite good." He was not as sickly as before. Mo Ming shook his head. "Since we're here, we have to work hard to live. If we don't, when disaster comes, only death will await us." Ning Shu nodded. "That's true. It's good to live. Live for the sake of living. /BK. Chapter 2991. Mo Ming arranged for a group of people to follow him. They jumped through the wormhole and headed to their destination. This wormhole was a bit like a walking space tunnel. Mo Ming glanced at Ning Shu's head and pointed at her head. "You have leaves on your head." Ning Shu had given up on treatment. Anyway, her hair bun could no longer cover the leaves. The leaves would stick out by themselves. Ning Shu said, "It's just a special head ornament. Don't worry about these small details." It was good that she did not have obsessive-compulsive disorder. If she did, she would want to take the leaves off at any moment. Mo Ming did not say anything. He looked away from Ning Shu's head and said, "According to the information sent, a large-scale war has broken out in this plane. It's very chaotic now." Mo Ming, Ning Shu, and the others entered the plane. They floated in the sky and looked at the people below who were fighting. Ning Shu scanned. This was an ancient era of cold weapons. People fought with swords and spears. Attacking cities and seizing territories depended on human lives. Now, the war below was in full swing. Shouts shook the sky, and the smell of blood filled the air. There was also a strong sense of despair and hostility. The world that was united for a long time must be divided, and divided for a long time must be united. War was the eternal theme of humans. Under the attack of the lethal weapons, the corpses fell down one by one. These were the corpses that Ning Shu wanted. The moment they fell, they froze the bodies. They did not freeze the bodies into ice cubes. Instead, they preserved the vitality in their bodies when they died. Ning Shu and the others did this, but they would not interfere in the war. "I used to be a member of the human race. Now, watching humans fight, it's like two groups of ants fighting," Mo Ming said calmly. Wasn't it just watching ants fight? They did not care at all who won or lost. They were not interested in knowing who would win. Compared to fighting for a city or a country, there was a bigger world outside. Fighting for such a small world was like ants fighting for a piece of biscuit that had fallen on the ground. Moreover, it was not suitable for them to participate in the war. They had entered the plane by force. If they interfered, it would be too harmful to the plane. As for the disappearance of some corpses after the end of the war, that would be left as an unsolved mystery. There were countless unsolved mysteries in this world. "You're doing well now. You're developing well." Mo Ming looked at Ning Shu and said, "You're free and strong." Ning Shu waved his hand and shook his head. Freedom and power are relative. Now, she was definitely stronger than when she had just become a mission enforcer. However, as for freedom, that might not be the case. There were still many things that she was busy with every day. Everyone had their own troubles. "You're doing well now. I didn't expect you to develop so well." Ning Shu returned the compliment. Mo Ming had just entered the army not long ago. To be able to become an officer, he had too many talents, especially his soaring purple providence. When he was still alive, even his body couldn't withstand such a noble aura, and his body was crippled. If one's luck was not strong enough, it was easy to get into trouble. Even someone as lucky as Mo Ming could get into trouble easily and become crippled. It would probably be difficult to purify Mo Ming in the rebirth pool. They were quite difficult to chew on and were not easy to evolve. This was because they had fate and virtue, and they could not absorb too much soul energy. When faced with such a situation, the rebirth pool would probably want to cry. Ning Shu didn't want the corpses that had lost arms or legs in the war. Ning Shu also didn't want some of the disabled soldiers, such as the older soldiers who were used to charge forward. Moreover, even if the bones of the dead were damaged, although it didn't affect the integrity of the bones, Ning Shu still wouldn't want them. It was not easy to find a soul with deep obsession. If he found one, he would have to give 5 merit grains. He didn't want to get an imperfect body. Moreover, the defective bones might be the first to collapse during the creation process. When that happened, the bones would collapse and the soul would disappear. Therefore, even though many people died in the war, there weren't many corpses that met the requirements. There were corpses that had their heads chopped off, and there were corpses that fell from the city walls. Their bodies were all deformed. Some had their intestines pierced through, but this kind of fatal injury didn't damage the bones. To Ning Shu, this was what he needed the most. As long as he used his mental power to scan, Ning Shu would know that the bones of those corpses had internal injuries. Since they were soldiers, especially corpses that had been in the army for a long time, their bodies would have internal injuries. Some of their bones would have scratches, sword wounds, and knife wounds. Even if their bones were fractured or their legs were broken, these injuries would leave traces on the bones even if they were healed. This kind of body was also not qualified. Ning Shu didn't want the skeletons he created to have all kinds of scars on their bodies. It would be best if they were beautiful and had no scars on their bodies. Perfect skeletons. Only such skeletons would look good and have delicate features. When the time came to absorb the merit grains, they would definitely be smooth and shiny. They would look very beautiful. Ning Shu gradually understood the aesthetics of skeletons. Skeletons could also be very beautiful. He tried his best to create perfect skeletons. In the end, the side that defended the city won the war. Ning Shu turned invisible and put away the corpses that had just been frozen. Other than Ning Shu, the others were also quickly picking up the corpses. In a flash, the corpses were gone. Those who saw it would only think that their eyes were playing tricks on them and that what they saw was an illusion. Many people had died, but not many of the corpses were qualified. Ning Shu and the others rushed to the next battlefield. This world was now in a state of war. The countries were scattered. The current war was all for the sake of unification in the future. These people were fighting in the front, and the people behind were picking up the corpses. Ning Shu felt that there weren't many qualified bodies that died because of the war. Perhaps there were more that died because of the plague. The plague destroyed the organs and skin, but it didn't affect the bones much. They went through many planes in a row. The corpses they found had to be screened before they could pick out qualified corpses. Even for these qualified corpses, the surface of the skin and flesh had to be removed cleanly, and then the soul had to be fused into it. The process of fusing was extremely painful. At this time, it was a test of the soul's wisdom and endurance. If they couldn't endure it, they would really die. Therefore, there were far from enough corpses. Ning Shu took advantage of the help of these soldiers to find as many planes as possible. With so many planes, even if there were only 10 qualified corpses in each plane, with such a large base, he could still collect a lot of corpses. He didn't want to do missions first. First, he had to settle the matter of the skeletons. At least he had to test it once to see the results. There were 2 rebirth pools, and there were no skeletons to deal with the calamity beasts. Did he want her to deal with those calamity beasts that polluted the soul with a foul stench? The key was that it was her world of reincarnation. If she didn't worry about it, who would? Since it was related to his world, Ning Shu had to treat it seriously. Mo Ming Ning Shu asked, "How many corpses do you need? Give me a number." There were many corpses. In every plane, there were people dying every minute and every second. Chapter 2992. Ning Shu thought for a while. He had never done it before, so he decided to try it out first. 10,000 will do. She didn't believe that she couldn't get 1 out of 10,000. With a ratio of 1,000 to 1, she also had 10 skeletons. It was more than enough to protect 2 rebirth pools. Perhaps more skeletons would be born, so she could slowly nurture them. After all, the world of reincarnation was still bubbling. In the future, these worlds of reincarnation would need people to protect them. Perhaps after some time, she would be able to leisurely grow flowers and raise children like an abyssal prefect. She might not necessarily grow flowers and raise children, but there were other interesting things to do. Mo Ming asked the other teams about their gains and asked them to bring up the numbers. In total, the number was enough. Mo Ming said, "The number is enough. There's an extra 10,000. When the time comes, we'll remove the unqualified ones." Ning Shu nodded. "Okay, let them gather here." Soon the few teams came back. They were really following orders. They didn't delay at all. They were very quick. It was very militaristic. If it was a mission enforcer who was used to freedom, even if they were notified, they wouldn't have arrived so quickly. The style was different. Everyone in the void took out the corpses. Ning Shu released his spiritual power and scanned the corpses. The unqualified ones were kicked out. Ning Shu stored the qualified ones in his own space. While he still had some life force, he had to quickly fuse the souls. Ning Shu asked Mo Ming, "Do I give you the reward directly?" "Give it to me. I'll distribute it to my teammates." Mo Ming said, "Add another contact. If there's such a thing, just come and find us. Get some extra money. You can't be strong with just a little military salary." "Sure." Ning Shu added Mo Ming's contact information since it was a mutually beneficial matter. If the world expanded in the future, more worlds would have rebirth pools. They would need skeletons. Things like picking up corpses would require manpower. Maybe when he had more skeletons, he could bring them to find corpses himself. Ning Shu transferred more than 100,000 merit points to Mo Ming. Then they separated. Ning Shu returned to the system space and opened the chat system. He asked the skeletons how many souls they had found. Time waits for no one. As time passed, the little bit of vitality in her body would dissipate, and her corpse would begin to rot. Then it would be useless. The number of stubborn souls found by the skeletons was not many, only 5,000. Looks like it's really not easy to find an obsession soul. 5,000 it is. Can you send it over? Also, bring some skeletons that I'm familiar with. I need to remove the flesh from the corpses. Hiring manpower and all sorts of commissions had cost quite a bit of money. If she were to remove the flesh by herself, how long would she be busy? Originally, the creation of creatures like skeletons was very particular about time. If he missed the timing, he wouldn't succeed. Ning Shu brought more than 5,000 souls brought by more than 10 skeletons into the world of samsara. In the world of reincarnation, he found a remote place and used it as a training ground. 5,000 souls were not a small number, forming a vast expanse. These stubborn souls were either numb or expressionless. Sometimes, when they were in extreme pain, they were not sad at all and did not care. Some souls had unswerving determination in their eyes. Their bodies were filled with hostility and despair. Some were stubborn because of hatred, some were stubborn because of love, and some were stubborn because of love. Their obsessions were carved into their bones. Day after day, year after year, they were controlled by their obsessions. They refused to jump into the reincarnation pool and refused to let go of themselves. They wandered in the world of samsara. The strong emotions of any creature, love, hate, greed, and despair, would have an impact on the plane. The world of samsara was also a plane. It was the other side of the world of living creatures. To be honest, the person who thought of the method to create skeletons was really a person with ideas. Since the burden on the world of samsara was reduced, there were more people to manage the world of samsara. In fact, during a plane war, these skeletons could even be used. One skeleton was small, but when all the bones were gathered together, it was very big. These souls were suddenly brought to an unfamiliar place. They were all very frightened and angry. With so many stubborn souls gathered together, the emotional fluctuations produced caused the space and vision to be slightly distorted. This was an impact. A butterfly flapping its wings could cause a huge storm, let alone so many people. Ning Shu hurriedly kept these souls and put them into the black pearl. This kind of pearl could allow the souls to survive in it. The impact on the world of samsara was too great. Ning Shu didn't dare to take the risk. The current world of samsara was very immature. After keeping the souls, Ning Shu released all the corpses. Now, he had to clean the flesh of the corpses. "I'll need your help later," Ning Shu said to more than 10 skeletons. Okay. Ning Shu was speechless. They were probably skeletons that did research. They were especially serious and concise. They were very different from those skeletons that talked about beautiful women. These skeletons quickly dealt with the flesh on the corpses. First, they used high-temperature water vapor to directly vaporize the flesh on the corpses. Then, they used a knife to scrape off some flesh attached to the bones and joints. One by one, the snow-white skeletons were neatly arranged in front of Ning Shu. It was as if they had been polished. There was even some reflection. Ning Shu suddenly felt that these skeletons were really perfect and beautiful. Because there were only more than 5,000 souls, he could only make more than 5,000 skeletons. There were many skeletons left. Ning Shu could only sell them to the abyssal prefect. These corpses were the most suitable for making skeletons. Every day, large numbers of skeletons were born in the world of samsara. Apart from those that failed, even if they succeeded, they might die in the process of nurturing before they could become golden skeletons. In short, it was a process of elimination. Those powerful golden skeletons were the victors. They would then increase their strength. The skeleton leader used 1 merit grain to exchange for 10 corpses. He exchanged for the remaining corpses of Ning Shu. Ning Shu was speechless. In order to find these skeletons, she had spent more than 100,000 merit points. You want to exchange for 10 corpses with 1,000 merit points, but you still have an indifferent attitude. Anyway, the anxious one was Ning Shu. Because the longer the corpses were dragged out, the less vitality they had. In the end, they would become ordinary corpses. These corpses were useless at all. Damn it. In the end, Ning Shu still exchanged for the corpses. Because in his hands, there was not even a single merit grain left. It was a completely unprofitable transaction. Ning Shu felt very stifled. These skeletons were taking advantage of the situation. More than 5,000 corpses were quickly dealt with. Now, Ning Shu needed to recite an incantation to set up an array. Please be sure to succeed on your first try. The more times you try, the worse the effect. Maybe not a single skeleton will be born. The more times you fail, the less vitality there is in the skeleton. The research skeleton Ning Shu said. Ning Shu was speechless. The more you say that, the more pressure I feel. Chapter 2993. Ning Shu took a deep breath. His fingers flew and started to set up the array. His fingers flew faster and faster. In the end, there were afterimages. Ning Shu muttered while setting up the array. The mark between his eyebrows was boiling hot. Ning Shu felt his whole body burning. His soul was overloaded. 5,000 skeletons were arranged in rows. From high up in the sky, it looked like a white forest. With so many skeletons, it was too exhausting to ensure that every skeleton was covered by the array. The spiritual ball in his sea of consciousness was spinning rapidly. Like a deflated balloon, it shrank rapidly. It produced a weak and painful feeling of spiritual power. Some of the power of his soul was also sucked away. Ning Shu felt that his fingers had become a little illusory. It was not as solid as before. The price was too high. After setting up the array, Ning Shu quickly released the souls in the black pearl. These souls were placed in the array. The skeletons had a suction force on these souls. Some souls were caught off guard and were sucked into the skeletons. Some souls were stubbornly resisting. However, Ning Shu increased the input of the array. Although these souls were stubborn, they were not strong. They could not resist the power of the array and were all sucked into the skeletons. Next, a more magical scene appeared. These skeletons that had been dead and had their flesh shaved seemed to have been revived. Their bodies began to tremble. Some of the skeletons suddenly cracked. Their bones were broken. Ning Shu saw this scene and his heart ached. If they could not endure it, their souls would scatter. Their skeletons and souls would be gone. Some skeletons sat up and hugged their heads. They seemed to be in extreme pain. Some skeletons seemed to have gone crazy. They ran aimlessly. In the end, they were bounced back by the array. It was like hell in the human world. They were suffering like purgatory. Ning Shu's hands trembled as he maintained the array. He was a little pessimistic. He did not know how many skeletons would succeed. Many of the skeletons had cracks on their bodies. Their wails spread far and wide. It scared the souls in the world of reincarnation. What happened? Could it be that there was really hell and someone was being tortured? Beside the reincarnation pool, Swordmaster stared in the direction of the voice. The Thunder Kirin was no longer sleeping. Instead, it was pacing back and forth in frustration. Occasionally, it would raise its front paws and squeeze out a gurgling sound from its throat, as if it was about to attack. The lightning on his body crackled as if his hair was standing on end. To the souls that came from the array formation, it was torture. To the souls outside the array formation, they were so scared that they peed their pants. Gotcha! Many cracks quickly spread out on the skeleton's body. Tiny veined patterns covered the entire body. Then with a bang sound, the skeleton exploded into tiny pieces. The soul in the skeleton also vanished into thin air, no longer existing. Gotcha! Gotcha! After one was destroyed, it was like firecrackers being ignited. One by one, it was unstoppable. Ning Shu's heart was in so much pain that it felt numb. Her array formation wasn't wrong, but why were there still so many souls collapsing? It was because this method was too painful. It was so painful that these stubborn souls couldn't bear it. Another possibility was that the corpses had too little vitality, causing them to collapse. Another possibility was that the vitality was too strong. Souls were originally otherworldly items. Forcefully fusing with vitality was like fusing water and fire together. It was very difficult to achieve a balance where water and fire coexisted. Ning Shu turned to look at the golden skeletons. These skeletons looked at the situation in the array indifferently. It was obvious that they were used to it. Kachaka. More and more skeletons collapsed. One collapsed meant one less skeleton. Ning Shu was getting more and more uncertain. She didn't know if she could succeed. Ning Shu gritted her teeth and probed into the array formation with her mental power. She could sense the vitality of these skeletons with the law of life. Ning Shu suspected that the vitality of these skeletons was too little. It was because of the delay in finding the corpses. Although the corpses were frozen, things like vitality would quickly dissipate after the soul left the body. She had to succeed. She had invested so much. Ning Shu condensed a rice-sized drop of the source of life on her fingertip. Her fingers fluttered, and along with the array, the vitality was injected into the array formation. Ning Shu didn't dare to make too much. The vitality and the death aura had to be balanced. If this balance was broken, it would not succeed. The spiritual ball in her sea of consciousness became only the size of a peanut. Her mental power had been drained. Ning Shu was dizzy. She couldn't hold on any longer. However, the array formation had to last until the end. Even if there was only one skeleton left, she had to maintain the integrity and stability of the array formation. Not only did she extract mental power, but she also extracted soul power. Curses and prophecies required soul power. Now, even setting up an array formation required soul power. Could it be that the more high-end something was, the more it required soul power? Ning Shu couldn't stand anymore and slowly sat down. With the addition of a little bit of the source of life, Ning Shu didn't know what the final result would be. In any case, his heart was cold. The wailing and groaning of pain filled his ears. Survival was really difficult. Looking at the painful state of these skeletons, Ning Shu couldn't imagine what kind of pain it was. The research skeleton at the side was motionless. It was obviously used to seeing this kind of thing. Seeing Ning Shu staring at it, it said, "If you want to produce these skeletons in the future, you have to set up the array formation in advance. The array formation requires mental power and soul power to activate, so you don't have to set up the array formation every time." Ning Shu nodded. He had to set up the array formation in advance. Otherwise, he would have to set it up again every time. She felt that a lot of her soul power had been sucked away. The painful days passed very slowly. Ning Shu also felt that it was very slow. What she saw and heard was the painful appearance of the skeletons and the painful wails. Some of them directly collapsed, and some were struggling bitterly. No wonder the souls with deep obsession couldn't remember anything in the end. This kind of pain probably overshadowed the entanglement of love and hate. After injecting some vitality, the number of collapsing skeletons obviously decreased. Some of them couldn't bear it and chose to end themselves. Some of them just numbly endured the pain. It was hell on earth. The whole world of reincarnation reverberated with such sounds. Many souls actually jumped into the reincarnation pool to escape from the terrifying sounds. Therefore, the number of souls jumping into the reincarnation pool suddenly increased. They jumped into the reincarnation pool like dumplings. The Thunder Kylin became more agitated. It paced back and forth and finally went in the direction of the whales. There was a problem in the world of reincarnation. It had to go and take a look. How did that creepy and uncomfortable sound come from? Chapter 2994. Sword Lord was still standing beside the reincarnation pool. Without orders, he wouldn't leave this place. Lightning crackled around the Thunder Kirin's body as it quickly came over. The Thunder Kirin's body was huge. As soon as it appeared, it created a huge pressure. When Ning Shu saw the Thunder Kirin, he was a little dumbfounded. Why did it run over? Usually, the Thunder Kirin was either sleeping or sleeping. The Thunder Kirin looked at the skeletons in the array formation and then at Ning Shu, who was sitting on the ground. It tilted its head. Clearly, the matter in front of it was beyond the scope of the Thunder Kirin's thoughts. Ning Shu, leave and guard the reincarnation pool. You have nothing to do here. The Thunder Kirin might have felt that something harmful to the world of reincarnation had happened here. The Thunder Kirin's eyes flickered with lightning as it looked at the situation of the array formation. Then, it turned around and left while shaking its fat butt. Gradually, the commotion in the array formation subsided. Some skeletons lay on the ground. They didn't collapse, but there was no movement either. No one knew what was going on. It might succeed, the golden skeleton Ning Shu said. Ning Shu's spirit was shaken. He felt that his weak soul was now filled with strength. He jumped up from the ground. If it really succeeded, he would have more than 2,000 skeletons. Although half of them had collapsed, there were still quite a number of them that survived. It actually reached 2 to 1. This number was actually not small. Ning Shu was very satisfied. In the future, he would nurture these 2,000 skeletons first. Although it required a lot of merit and time, the world of reincarnation also took a long time to evolve. It was enough. As expected, it was because the corpses had been delayed for too long that caused the lack of vitality. If there wasn't any vitality, Ning Shu felt that the number of successful skeletons this time would really be unbearable. He wouldn't even be able to recoup his losses. Although he had spent a lot of money, he had gained something. Weaken the power of the array formation. Otherwise, the skeletons will collapse. Now, it's the final moment of integration, the skeleton said to Ning Shu. Yes. Ning Shu's fingers flew and weakened the power of the array formation. Some skeletons seemed to be asleep and didn't move at all. Some skeletons were mumbling. Ning Shu was a little worried that there would be something wrong with the brains of these skeletons. His heart was filled with unease. After enduring for a long time, some of the skeletons began to move. They crawled up from the ground, looked at their hands, and silently looked at their own bodies. These skeletons were obviously not used to their new bodies. You can remove the formation now. Ning Shu immediately dispelled the array formation and put his hands on his hips. He was exhausted and his spiritual energy had been emptied. Mental power could be slowly recovered, but soul power couldn't. But after seeing these cute skeletons, Ning Shu felt that all the expenses were worth it. In the future, these skeletons would be her team. Her first batch of subordinates would be brought out to suppress the situation. Ning Shu waved his arm and said to the dozen or so golden skeletons, "Thank you for your help this time." He gave each of them 8 merit grains. Another 8 to 10,000 merit points were gone. Since he was here to help, there should be a reward. After sending away the skeletons, Ning Shu turned his head and looked at the newly born skeletons. He clapped his hands and said, "Babies, line up and count off." These skeletons lined up slowly. Some of them probably hadn't reacted yet, so they were half a beat slower. There were so many skeletons. He had to find someone who was a little smarter to take care of these skeletons. He let Li Si take care of them first. "Line up and get your food." Ning Shu took out several baskets of merit points. For the time being, he gave each skeleton 2 merit grains. There were more than 2,400 skeletons. Let me calculate how much merit points he got first. 1 merit grain was 1,000 merit points. 2 merit grains were 2,000 merit points. 2,400 skeletons were 2,000 by 2,400, which was 8 million merit points. Ning Shu's heart was numb. The most important thing was that he also had to pay a commission for the skeletons in the world of samsara to find the souls with deep obsession. He promised 5 merit grains for 5,000 souls, that was 25 million merit points. His account also had 8 million merit points. Excluding the commission of the army and all kinds of expenses, he had no more 8 million merit points. Ning Shu suddenly wanted to say, "Baby, let's not eat first. Let's pay off the debt." Although he sold 10,000 corpses, it was a cheap sale. He only got 1,000 merit grains. But he owed those skeletons 25,000 merit grains. Ning Shu wanted to run away like an unscrupulous boss. Although 5 merit grains didn't sound much, it was still 5,000 merit points. What should he do? It was the first time in his life that he had such a big debt. Even if he sold his blood, it wouldn't be enough. Hearing that Ning Shu was going to give out food, these skeletons lined up very long. They were very obedient and looked at Ning Shu with their black eye sockets. Although they had no eyes, Ning Shu could still feel the blankness in their eyes. Ning Shu swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. Anyway, he already owed so much, but he could not give his babies something to eat. First, each of them would get 1. As for the money he owed to His Excellency, he would borrow it from others. 1 merit grain per person would cost more than 4 million skeletons. Ning Shu picked up a merit grain and said to the skeleton in front of him, "Stretch out your hand." The skeleton stretched out its hand. Because it was all bones, there was no flesh and blood. The gap between the fingers was very big. The skeleton even opened its palm wide. "Ning Shu, forget it, open your mouth." The skeleton was very obedient. It lowered its jaw and opened its mouth. Ning Shu threw the bone into the skeleton's mouth and said, "Chew it and swallow it." The skeleton chewed and stood still in front of Ning Shu. "Stand to the side, don't block others." Ning Shu showed his greatest patience. These skeletons were all white. No, they were glistening yellow merit points. The skeleton behind stretched out its neck and opened its mouth. Ning Shu threw the merit grain into the skeleton's mouth. The skeleton immediately moved aside and let the skeleton behind use its mouth to eat. The scene was filled with crunching sounds. It was estimated that it was difficult for them to use merit points as they had just become skeletons. After feeding all the skeletons, Ning Shu felt that his hand was useless. He was so tired that he could not lift it. A single merit grain, for these skeletons, was like a drop of water in the sea. There was no change at all. In order to become a golden skeleton, it would at least consume a lot of merit grains. And it was only 1, multiplied by a huge 2,400. Ning Shu smiled. Stand here and don't move. Don't move. Wait for me to come back. Ning Shu picked up the black bone umbrella and went to find Li Si. He asked Li Si to look after these skeletons first. She wanted to go out and borrow money to return the money to His Excellency. If she owed His Excellency money, His Excellency might not let the little girl return to this world of reincarnation. No one could replace the little girl. After all, not everyone was like His Excellency and the little girl, who ate souls as food. The little girl had a responsibility to this world. /BK. Chapter 2995. Ning Shu found Li Si and brought Li Si in front of the skeletons. Li Si saw so many skeletons. There were 2,400 of them lined up, and it was a majestic sight. So many skeletons appeared without a sound. These skeletons were white and bright and actually looked good. But they weren't gold in color. They should be eating gold. Li Si wasn't a talkative person. When he saw so many skeletons, he couldn't help but ask, why are there so many skeletons suddenly? It was like they appeared out of nowhere. Li Si didn't participate in the process of making skeletons. Naturally, he didn't know how much time and money was spent. He only felt like these skeletons appeared out of nowhere. How shocking. Ning Shu said, look after these skeletons and don't let them run around. Also, don't let the souls in world of reincarnation offend them. The skeletons were really weak now. There were some really strong souls in world of reincarnation that might cause the skeletons to break apart. If something happened, even killing those souls wouldn't be able to make up for the loss. You have to look after them. Ning Shu said word by word seriously. These skeletons were all money and making them was really complicated. Li Si nodded his head, don't worry, I will look after them. Li Si was really happy. With so many skeletons, he could search for young master. There would be people guarding world of reincarnation as well. Ning Shu said to these skeleton babies, listen to this brother. When I return, I hope that I can see all of you standing there and not running around. Okay. The skeletons replied. From the notebook, such a phenomenon was normal. The souls that merged with the bones would go through a period of intelligence development and merge with the bones. After a period of time, they would be able to recover to the same state as the soul. This was why these skeletons were a little dumb. But Ning Shu wasn't in a rush. Anyway, she didn't have many world of reincarnation. However, there were some skeletons that had a special performance and recovered faster than the other skeletons. Ning Shu remembered them and made a mark on them. This kind of skeleton needed to be cultivated in the first batch. With so many skeletons, it was impossible to cultivate all of them at once. He would cultivate a few first to take care of the world of samsara. In the future, if another calamity beast appeared in the rebirth pool, he would not have to lower himself to ask for help. After all, he would have to pay for the help. With his own people, using the rewards to nurture his own people was a very profitable thing. To be honest, these skeletons all looked the same. Ning Shu couldn't tell who was who. Moreover, these skeletons did not have names. In the future, these skeletons would be given their own names. Without numbers, he would not know how to manage these skeletons in the future. Ning Shu said to Li Si, I'm leaving. Watch carefully. Li Si nodded. Don't worry. Ning Shu, no, I'm not reassured at all. Right now, the skeleton was extremely brittle, shattering with a single step. It was extremely weak. There was no merit to increase the hardness of the bones. In short, he needed money. There were so many skeletons of abyssal prefects. Even if each skeleton only had 1 merit grain as a soldier's pay, the soldier's pay would still be a huge amount of merit. It was too scary. Ning Shu held the black bone umbrella and thought about who to borrow money from. She needed to borrow more than 20 million merit points. Which rich person could lend her tens of millions of merit points? She still had more than 5 million merit points. Therefore, she needed to borrow 20 million merit points. Moreover, Ning Shu did not know when he would be able to repay her. She did not know where to go to earn money. There were taxes, but it was better not to talk about it. Ning Shu realized that she did not have a fixed income. However, there were many places where she needed to spend money. The first person Ning Shu found was Shu Bai. The last time Shu Bai saw her, it was difficult for her to speak. This time, Ning Shu also found it difficult to speak to Shu Bai. It was too difficult to ask for help. Ning Shu ordered a pot of tea and poured it down her throat. Shu Bai asked, "City Lord, why are you looking for me?" Ning Shu wanted to say something but stopped. Shu Bai smiled. "City Lord, if you have something to say, just say it." Ning Shu said, "I am looking for you this time because I want to borrow some money from you. I need it urgently, but I don't have any money on me." Shu Bai nodded and asked, "City Lord, do you need money?" Ning Shu nodded. "I need money more than usual." Ning Shu was really having a headache. When she did not have skeletons, she thought about it day and night. It was as if she was lovesick. Now that she had skeletons, new troubles came. She had to find a way to make money for herself. Otherwise, she would not be able to support herself and raise so many skeletons. Even if she could only raise a few skeletons with outstanding intelligence, she would still need to invest a lot of resources. A way to make money? A way to make money? Was she going to start a business? She was not free. Or was she going to invest in other people's business? She was so poor now. Moreover, other people would not let her invest in a profitable business. She was obviously here to rob money. Dream on. Ning Shu was so poor that she cried like a poached egg. Shu Bai asked, "How much money does the city lord need?" "Shu Bai can see how much money I can give you. There is no need for that. Just treat it as an advance payment from the city lord." She was so considerate. Hearing Shu Bai's words, Ning Shu's heart was burning. Ning Shu did not dare to say too much as he was afraid that Shu Bai would be scared. He said, "Give me as much as you can." In any case, it was impossible for her to give him 20 million. "Then I will go and take a look." Shu Bai stood up and went downstairs. Ning Shu drank cup after cup of tea. He felt that no matter how much tea he drank, he could not extinguish the fire in his heart. He did not know if it was because he was anxious or because there was a raging fire burning in his heart. Not long after, Shu Bai came downstairs and said to Ning Shu, "I can only give you 2 million. Deduct it from my account. The restaurant does not have that much money." Ning Shu immediately smiled and said, "Thank you." It was an expected amount. Even if Shu Bai had a lot of money, she would not lend him a lot. Shu Bai was in a disadvantageous position and had to plan for herself. If she took out too much money, people would think that she was a sucker. Money came easily. In the future, she would still be exploited. Giving him 2 million was not a small amount. She had done her best. Since she was in a disadvantageous position, she had to plan carefully. Ning Shu understood in his heart. He smiled and said to Shu Bai, "Thank you." Shu Bai nodded. After coming out of the restaurant, Ning Shu sighed. The difference between 2 million and 2 million was not small. Now, he was still short of 18 million. This number was really despairing. Ning Shu went to find the Chong Sam man. He did not know how much money he could get from the Chong Sam man. He would borrow as much as he could and then see if there was anything he could sell at home. When the Chong Sam man saw Ning Shu, he rolled his eyes and said, "Don't talk." "No, I want to talk." Ning Shu sat down and picked up a snack to eat. The Chong Sam man fanned himself and took a sip of tea. He put down the teacup and asked, "What do you want? /BK." Chapter 2996. Ning Shu smacked his lips and said, "I can't come to you if there's nothing." "Are you that free?" The Chong Sam man curled his lips. "Just tell me what you want. I'm here to borrow money." The Chong Sam man said, "Hurry up. I don't have money. I don't have taxes now. How can I lend you money?" "Shut up. I don't have money." Ning Shu was speechless. "Be tactful," Ning Shu said. "Oh, I've been a little tight recently. I really can't lend you money," the Chong Sam man said tactfully. Ning Shu was speechless. It seemed that the Chong Sam man really couldn't borrow money. Without taxes, the Cheongsam man would definitely tighten his grip on the resources in his hands. The Cheongsam man was still fine. He still had a restaurant. She was a general without an army. Ning Shu ate several pastries in a row. The pressure was too great. It was easy for him to overeat. Fortunately, he wouldn't gain weight in his soul state. The Cheongsam man saw Ning Shu stuffing the pastries and asked, "Are you that short of money?" "Yes, I'm very short of money. I've never been so poor." Ning Shu didn't feel that she was poor even after her belongings were taken away by the Prime Minister. After all, she was all by herself. She could eat her fill and the whole family wouldn't starve. But now, there were so many skeletons waiting for him to raise. It was really suffocating. The Cheongsam man said, "I really can't lend you anything. I don't have much money. In the future, I'll have to save up on buying space tunnels. If you really need money, you can go to a loan shark." The Cheongsam man advised Ning Shu. When Ning Shu heard about loan sharks, he quickly shook his head and refused. In this kind of place, loan sharks had the support of big shots. Otherwise, the person who borrowed money would have long reneged on the debt. Moreover, the interest was really too high. When the interest accumulated, he felt that it would become a huge debt. Just by paying off the debt, he would have to pay it off. If that was the case, he might as well be thick-skinned and owe His Excellency. When he had money, he would pay it back. Although he said that he owed His Excellency, he actually owed the skeletons. The skeletons had helped him find the souls with deep obsession. If he really owed the Abyssal Prefect, Ning Shu wouldn't be so anxious. But he really did owe the skeletons. If he didn't give it to her, it would damage his reputation. It was hard to pick up a broken promise after the first time. The Cheongsam man could not help but ask, "What do you do every day? Why do you always borrow money?" Ning Shu sighed. "You might not believe it, but I have a lot of people taking care of me." "Keep people? Keep a gigolo," the man in the Cheongsam said angrily. "You're already so old and you're still being deceived by a gigolo? Although we're both men and are indeed quite fair, I wasn't cheated." Ning Shu drank a mouthful of tea and swallowed the pastry in his throat. It was too choking and too sweet. The man in the Cheongsam stared at Ning Shu. "Fuck, you really have a gigolo. Is there something wrong with your brain? Bring him out to see how handsome he is." Ning Shu immediately waved his hand modestly. "At most, I have delicate features. I'm really not that handsome." The Cheongsam man was speechless. He must have spilled it. "You're not borrowing so much money to buy equipment for the gigolo, are you?" The man in the Cheongsam looked at Ning Shu in disbelief. Ning Shu nodded. The man in the Cheongsam said, "You can leave. I don't have money. Even if I had money, I wouldn't lend it to you." Ning Shu was speechless. "Brother, I'm afraid you've misunderstood. Although I do have a gigolo, it's not what you think." The man in the Cheongsam waved his fan and said sadly, "A woman in love is sad." Ning Shu was speechless. Since he couldn't borrow money from the man in the Cheongsam, Ning Shu could only think of other ways. He returned to the system space and searched for everything in the system space. He wanted to see what was valuable and could be sold. He couldn't bear to part with the ring and the roses. As for the spirit stones, no one cared about them, and the brain, he kept it for himself. The spirit stone and the fire pearl were a combination. There weren't many spirit stones left. He wanted to keep it for himself. It stored a bit of soul power, which was refined from soul fluid, as well as the soul power contributed by the person who commissioned it during the mission. But it wasn't much. Even if he could sell it, he couldn't sell it for a good price. It was better to keep it for himself. For 20 million yuan, it was a drop in the bucket. He realized that he didn't have many things that were really valuable. Alright, he forgot about the world tree. But the world tree had already fused with her soul and couldn't be removed. Ning Shu was speechless. Oh, the situation now looked miserable no matter how he looked at it. It was better to sell some blood. Ning Shu contacted his uncle and asked if he wanted the source of life now. "Uncle, yes." This kind of tone really made Ning Shu feel depressed. This was a rule that he had comprehended with great difficulty. Sure enough, it wasn't a transaction. Ning Shu didn't intend to sell his source of life cheaply. It was also good to keep it to nurture the world tree. He would think of other ways. It was really too cheap to sell the source of life. Ning Shu felt uncomfortable. He decided to sell a spirit stone from a meson space. Back then, the spirit stone filled several meson spaces. He also sold a fire pearl. He sold 5 pearls and 10 fire pearls to Awan. He used the fire pearls to refine the impurities in the spirit stone. Selling the spirit stone alone definitely wouldn't be effective. They were all mission enforcers and definitely knew that there would be impurities if they directly absorbed it. But with the fire pearls, the spirit stone could be sold for a higher price. He needed to find someone to sell it. Ning Shu took out a fire pearl and bought a glass bottle to store the fire pearls. Taking the spirit stone from a meson space, he went to the auction house to find Si Tian. This kind of thing definitely needed to find a professional. Water City Auction House. The auction house was very lively. Ning Shu said to the staff, "I'm looking for your boss, is he here?" After a while, Si Tian leisurely walked over to Ning Shu. He cupped his hands and said, "City Lord, do you need any equipment?" Ning Shu shook his head. "I'm here to sell something." "Then let's go to the private room." Si Tian sat down and asked, "City Lord, what do you want to sell?" Ning Shu took out a meson space and a red fire pearl. As soon as the fire pearl was taken out, the temperature of the room rose a lot. Ning Shu said, "This is a spirit stone, mixed with spirit power." Si Tian picked up a spirit stone and looked at it. Finally, he put it down and said, "This spirit power probably has impurities." Ning Shu pushed the glass bottle in front of His Excellency. "Of course there are impurities. At this time, it's needed. Using the secondary fire to refine the spirit power and remove the impurities, it can also make the spirit ball pure. Even if it doesn't absorb the spirit stone, once there are any impurities in the spirit ball, it can be refined with the secondary fire pearl." The spirit ball was like iron. The more it was refined, the more solid and powerful it would be. "Oh." Si Tian's expression was a little interested. Ning Shu said, "You can try. /BK." Chapter 2997. Si Tian absorbed a spirit stone and followed Ning Shu's instructions. He used his mental strength to touch the fire pearl and then touched the hot red spirit ball. The impurities in the spirit ball would be removed, but when he touched it, it hurt a little. No, it hurt a lot. Si Tian sat down with a pale face. However, his eyes were bright. Ning Shu asked, "City Lord, do you want to sell it to the auction house or auction it?" Ning Shu thought for a moment and asked, "If you sell it to the auction house, what price can you give me?" If the price was low, of course, they would auction it. When the time came, they would give the auction house some handling fee and commission. If the price was acceptable to her, she would sell it to the auction house directly and save herself the trouble. Si Tian asked, "City Lord, do you still have many of these spirit stones?" Ning Shu shook his head. "No." "Then where did you find it?" Si Tian asked. Obviously, he felt that the spirit stone was a good thing. It would be better to use it together with the fire pearl. Ning Shu looked at Si Tian with a faint smile. "This is out of print. Let me tell you. I found it in the void world. At that time, it was a huge spirit stone mine." Si Tian's eyes flickered as he listened quietly to Ning Shu. Ning Shu continued, "But that mine no longer exists because that mine gave birth to the mine core. Now, the mine core has cultivated into a human. After it transformed, it absorbed all the spirit stones immediately. No more." Ning Shu spread his hands. This kind of thing could not be reproduced. The more it was used, the less it would be. Even if Si Tian sent people to the void world, they would not be able to find it. Although the people who went to find the world tree more or less had some spirit stones, they did not have this kind of fire pearl. Ning Shu thought for a moment and said, "I've decided to auction it. I want to sell the spirit stones and the fire pearl separately." The fire pearl could be used regardless of whether one had a spirit stone or not. It could refine one's mental strength and remove the impurities in the spirit stone. Ning Shu not only wanted to attract people to buy the spirit stones, but he also wanted to increase the publicity of the fire pearl. He would definitely be able to absorb those who had spirit stones. For example, the Cheongsam man had spirit stones in his hands, and there were also people who wanted to purify their spiritual power. And the customers who bought the spirit stones would definitely want to get the fire beads. When the time came, the price would definitely be very high. The spirit stone wasn't that important. What was important was the fire bead. The beads sold to Awan were not expensive, but that was because there was no such opportunity. In order to get money, Ning Shu racked her brains to think of a way. Si Tian had no objections. Then it's settled. What's your price? Ning Shu asked, what do you think is a suitable price? The amount of spirit stones for a subspace is not a small sum. Si Tian was silent for a while before he said, 8 million merit points for spirit stones and 9 million merit points for beads. Ning Shu nodded. Sure. This definitely exceeded the original price of spirit stones and fire beads. As long as it didn't go unsold and was sold at a slightly higher price, she would have enough money to pay off her debt. Ning Shu said, introduce more about the use of the fire beads. Si Tian was in this business, so of course he knew. Then the auction will have to be delayed for a while. Let's promote it for a while. Sure. Call me when the auction starts, Ning Shu said. After leaving the auction house, Ning Shu let out a long breath. She hoped that the hype would go smoothly and then she would have money to earn. Back in the system space, the chat system rang. She opened it and saw that it was actually a skeleton urging her to pay off her debt. These skeleton bosses were very direct. Beauty, you've already made the skeletons. When will you give the money to the brats? They're waiting for it now. Ning Shu wanted to cover her face and pretend that she didn't see this message. She didn't reply. After the auction ended, she would get the money immediately. So awkward. In addition to the debt urging her to pay, the main system also asked her to pick up the trash. Ning Shu replied to the main system, I've already picked it up. After the mission was completed, she went to pick up the trash. Working for the officials was like this. They kept urging her, paid her little, and owed her. The main system said, there are a lot of broken planes. Please go over and help deal with them. Ning Shu wanted to roll her eyes. Every time she had to pick up 1 million, it was always asking her to do it. It wanted to instruct her as much as possible while she was being punished. Ning Shu took out the spirit stone and absorbed a lot. Then she began to refine it. Since she was going to pick up trash, she should make her spiritual power stronger. After thinking about it, she made a sign and sent a message to Grand Elder, asking her to send her over. When would she be able to build the space channel as she pleased? She couldn't pick up the fragments because she couldn't build a stable space channel, but the main system still let her go every time. When she reached the place where the plane was broken, there were many fragments floating. There were so many fragments. Could it be that 10 planes had been broken? Ning Shu hung the sign around her neck. The sign said, picking up fragments, 100,000 each time. Since she was already here, she could help others pick up. Picking up 100,000 would give her 100,000 merit points. Ning Shu stretched out more vines this time. Her spiritual power was stronger, and she could control more vines. She picked up the fragments faster. The sign around Ning Shu's neck attracted a lot of attention. Someone came over and asked, 100,000 merit points each time. You're asking for a high price. Is it? This is the official price, Ning Shu said. Picking up 100,000 fragments would give her 100,000 merit points. It was a very reasonable price. Then if you take all the rewards, we won't get anything. Ning Shu retorted, you won't get anything but you didn't pick up the fragments. You don't have to suffer this. Do you want to earn the difference? 100,000 fragments, 100,000 merit points, Ning Shu said with a smile. It's easy for you to pick up 100,000 fragments. This price is too high, someone said. Ning Shu shook his head. No, it's easy for me to pick up fragments. That's my ability. It's not a reason for you to bargain. Although 100,000 merit points was nothing to these big shots, they were used to bargaining. They had to bargain for everything. Maybe they would succeed. If they didn't, they wouldn't lose anything. Time was really worthless to people with eternal life. They could waste a lot of time on boring things. Although these big shots said the price was high, more and more people came over. Some people even pre-booked it. No arrears. I'll settle the bill now, Ning Shu said directly. When these big shots left, who would she ask for money from? Of course, there was a limit to the number. Ning Shu could pick up 10,000, 30,000, or even 50,000. The number was up to him. There was also a corresponding price. Anyway, 10,000 fragments were 10,000 merit points. One fragment was 1 merit point. /BK. Chapter 2998. 100,000 merit points meant 100 merit granules. Although it was not enough for each skeleton, it was enough for the few skeletons that were being nurtured. Each of them could get a few. Ning, tentacle monster, Shu had attracted a lot of attention. Picking up fragments was a duty that had to be fulfilled. If this tentacle monster could help, they would pick up less. Now that this tentacle monster was listed for business, these bosses were overjoyed. However, bargaining was necessary. Ning Shu didn't give in. There was only one shop. If you don't want to come, then so be it. That was how willful she was. Ning Shu stretched out more vines, covering the sky and the earth. With her as the center, the vines spread out in all directions. The speed at which she picked up fragments was really fast. Ning Shu had to pick up all the 1 million fragments before she started to accept orders. She had a lot of people to pick up now. In such a short time, her account had more than 1 million fragments, which meant that she had to pick up more than 1 million fragments. Fortunately, she had been constantly refreshing her spiritual power during this period. She also didn't sell her source of life cheaply. Otherwise, how could she earn money so quickly? She didn't know when the 1 million fragment punishment would be cancelled. If it was cancelled, she could earn more. Some bosses sat on the side to rest and play, waiting for Ning Shu to give them the garbage bag. When there was enough inside, they could report back. When the vines were out of power, Ning Shu dripped a bit of her source of life. Wherever he went, it was clean and there was not a single shard left behind. By the time all the orders were completed, Ning Shu was already lying on the ground in exhaustion. Her wood law was burning hot, and the mark between her eyebrows was burning hot. There were even people looking for Ning Shu, but Ning Shu waved her hand and rejected them. She couldn't do it anymore. Her body seemed to have been hollowed out. Seeing that the planes were about to fuse, Ning Shu jumped up and went to pick up the leftovers of the star stones. After picking up the star stones, Ning Shu wanted to go back. Now the wood law mark was angry. It was boiling hot and had no energy. She wanted to go back and replenish her energy. Ning Shu said to the grand uncle, "Can you please send me back? I've collected enough." Instead of looking for Zheng Qing, Ning Shu was still dealing with matters of the plane. In his heart, he hoped that Zheng Qing would be caught. If he was unlucky and ran into him again while on a mission, he would not be able to escape. That bastard might even disrupt his mission. Although he could report it, he wanted to tear apart Zheng Qing if he failed his mission. The Grand Elder said indifferently, "You are very capable. You can continue to pick them up." Ning Shu saw him staring at the tag hanging around his neck. He quickly took it off and said, "I'm just trying to make a living. I'm short of money recently. Besides, as long as someone picks it up, the number will be taken. Why should I care who picked it up? And it won't delay the progress." After earning 1 million merit grains, he could get 1,000 merit grains. If he did it a few more times, perhaps every skeleton could get a merit grain to eat. The house was full of babies waiting to be fed, and there were more than 1 or 2 of them. As long as he could be nurtured, it would be fine. For example, in the world of reincarnation, there was no need to worry about him causing any trouble. But to cultivate these skeletons, Ning Shu didn't know how many resources he had to invest. The Grand Elder didn't speak, which made Ning Shu a little uneasy. Was he not allowed to do business? "Can I go?" Ning Shu asked. The Grand Elder looked at him. Ning Shu's hair stood on end. He didn't know what the Grand Elder was going to do. Was he going to increase his punishment again? He probably felt that 1 million wasn't a lot and wanted to squeeze out his potential. Ning Shu couldn't help but touch the bun on his head and stick the leaves into his hair. Was his obsessive-compulsive disorder acting up and he was going to tear off the world tree on his head? Can I only go if I kiss you? Ning Shu pursed his lips, deliberately disgusting him. Don't forget that I have something on you. The Grand Elder's expression was disgusted. Disgusting thing. He took out a gun and pointed it at Ning Shu's mouth. Believe it or not, I'll smash your mouth into pieces. Ning Shu smacked his lips. I'm just joking. Can you make a space passage? I didn't do anything wrong. What reason do you have to shoot me? The Grand Elder raised his hand and pointed in the air, and a space passage appeared. Ning Shu walked into the spatial passageway. The spatial passageway was shaking uncontrollably. As she walked, she missed a step and fell. Well, he must be taking revenge on her. Ning Shu returned to the system space with difficulty. The shaking made him want to vomit. Ning Shu immediately went to Wood City. The operation this time was too fierce. The law was overloaded, and now it was scalding hot. Ning Shu's soul was burning. As soon as he arrived at Wood City, the law imprint was frantically absorbing the green light spots. The burning sensation gradually disappeared, and a cool breeze extinguished the heat. Ning Shu lay comfortably in the city lord's mansion, allowing the law imprint to absorb the energy. This time, the wood law imprint took a long time to absorb. Ning Shu probably used up all the energy it had stored. Now, he had to replenish this energy. After replenishing the energy, Ning Shu repaired and strengthened the barrier of Wood City. He also went to the other two cities to strengthen it. Ning Shu had not used the Law of Earth on his wrist yet, nor did he delve into the mysteries of the Law of Earth. When he had the time, he would familiarize himself with the Law of Earth imprint. In any case, it was the embodiment of the Law of Earth. It might be able to move mountains and drill through earth. It could definitely topple mountains and overturn seas. After all, it was the embodiment of the law of water and earth. Si Tian informed him to go to the auction house. He said that a large-scale auction was about to be prepared, and her items would be auctioned there. Ning Shu rushed to the auction house and asked curiously, "You're done with the publicity so soon?" This speed was too fast. Si Tian said, "This auction has been advertised for a long time. If there are any new items, the network can deliver them at any time. Are you underestimating the organization's network?" Ning Shu, "Well, I hope it can sell for a good price." Whether or not he could repay his debt depended on whether he could sell it this time. Skeleton was urging him. When he saw the news, Ning Shu felt so guilty that he did not dare to reply. She really looked like an unscrupulous boss who owed her wages. Ning Shu sat in the private room of the auction house. She had no money and was purely here to watch the fun. Even if there were any good items, she did not have the money to buy them. The auction began in a tense and lively atmosphere. The auctioneer was a man, and he introduced the auction items methodically. But there were still many people who kept bidding. The items were really good. Ning Shu was dazzled by the variety of treasures in front of her. In the past, Ning Shu did not know where these treasures came from. If they were really found in the plane, why did she go to so many planes and do so many missions? Why didn't she find many treasures? Now Ning Shu knew that these treasures were very likely products of the Nihility world. They were found in the Nihility world. However, the price of these treasures was enough to make people gasp. The source of the information and the manual search for the treasures was enough to increase the value of these treasures many times over. /BK Chapter 2999. The treasures at the beginning were more eye-catching. At the beginning, it was certain that this auction would be very high-end and that there would be many treasures. In the middle, there would be some less precious items up for bidding. However, towards the end, there were more and more treasures. The more important the item was, the more expensive it would be. No one knew what the final item would be. Ning Shu did not pay attention to the auction, so he did not know much about the mysterious final item, nor did he have the means to find out. She only cared about whether her auction item would be successfully auctioned off. This was related to whether she could return the money. Ning Shu's auction item was arranged in the middle. Even if it was a treasure, its quality was above average, so it was arranged in the middle. It was the kind of auction item that could calm the atmosphere. The next item is a mind stone. It contains mind power and can absorb the powerful mind power of a mind stone. The starting price is 7 million merit points. Each increment must be no less than 100,000 merit points. The auction starts now. Ning Shu had finally waited for his item to be auctioned off. He was a little restless as he listened to the bids. As expected, it was an item that could calm the atmosphere. The auction atmosphere was not very enthusiastic, but there were people bidding sparsely. Most people would first strengthen their appearance, such as the soul, which was more intuitive. If it was the soul power being auctioned now, it should be more enthusiastic. Then it would be a strong inner strength, such as mind power. In any case, Ning Shu now fully understood the importance of mind power. Strong mind power was needed to construct spatial passages, set up arrays, and so on. Mind power was a powerful attack method. However, it seemed that mind power was not as common as soul power. After all, mission enforcers would obtain soul power when they completed missions, which made soul power seem especially important. In fact, mind power was also very important. Those who bid for the mind stone were all 100,000 merit points. The auctioneer was talking about the benefits of strong mind power, which attracted some onlookers to join in the bidding. The atmosphere was a little more lively. Ning Shu listened to the bids and was actually very satisfied. The starting price was 8 million merit points. After a period of bidding, the price had now reached 10 million merit points. The price was still climbing up with difficulty. In fact, this item was really worth the price. At that time, it had been a battle of wits and courage with the heart. Under such circumstances, it was easy to imagine how difficult it was to get a mind stone. No matter how many people went, they would lose. In the end, the spiritual stone was sold for 11 million merit points. After deducting the 10% handling fee, it was still more than 9 million merit points. Ning Shu let out a long sigh. He had nearly 7 million merit points on hand. Adding the 9 million plus merit points, he had a lot of money. He believed that the secondary fire pearl could be sold for a higher price than this. The next item is the secondary fire pearl. This kind of pearl is formed in the secondary fire. It takes a very long time to form and the temperature is very high. It can remove a lot of impurities. In particular, it can be used to refine and purify spiritual spheres. To all the customers who bought spiritual gems before, you should definitely buy this pearl and absorb the spiritual gems. Then, you can use fire to temper it and remove all impurities. Of course, customers who haven't bought a spirit stone can also buy one, because you can also rely on the beads to temper your spiritual power. It can make your spiritual power stronger and firmer, allowing you to use it smoothly without the slightest feeling of rigidity. The bidding starts now. The starting price is 9 million, and each bid must be at least 500,000. Ning Shu was speechless. Previously, each bid for the spiritual gems had to be at least 100,000, but each bid for the fire pearl had to be at least 500,000. The spiritual gems were the appetizers, and the fire pearl was the main course. Even Ning Shu felt that it was quite a scam. The person who bought the spiritual gems needed these fire pearls more than ordinary people, but these fire pearls were also useful to ordinary people. This was because they could temper spiritual power. No one could be sure that their spiritual power was absolutely pure. Even if they didn't absorb the spiritual gems, they couldn't be sure that their spiritual balls were pure. The spiritual balls were like a piece of iron. Only after continuous tempering and hammering could the impurities in the iron be reduced, turning it into fine iron. Iron had to be hammered to become something, and it was the same for the spiritual balls. Although the spiritual balls were very fragile to a certain extent, they could be hammered slowly to increase the defensive strength of the spiritual balls. After being hammered, the spiritual balls could change from the egg state to a lump of iron. Even if others attacked their spiritual balls, they could be fearless. However, it was different for eggs. They had to be careful because they would break if they weren't careful. The auctioneer kept explaining the importance of the spiritual balls. If the spiritual balls broke, the person's consciousness would also disappear. 8, 5 million, 9 million, 9, 5 million, 10 million. The price was gradually rising, and Ning Shu's heart began to beat wildly. In addition to being able to pay off his debt, Ning Shu certainly hoped that the price would be as high as possible. This way, he could get some merit for his skeleton to eat. 20 million. The price had soared to 2,000. Ning Shu patted his chest. This was great, he could really pay off his debt. It was obviously easier to get the fire pearl, at least it wasn't life-threatening. It was even harder to get the spiritual gems. However, the price of a fire pearl was double that of a spiritual stone. Moreover, there was only one of them. The methods of business were really suffocating. Ning Shu noticed that there were a few people who had been bidding. He suspected that these people had spiritual gems in their hands and needed the fire pearl to purify them. He just didn't know if the Cheongsam man would come. The Cheongsam man also had spiritual gems in his hands. He believed that the Cheongsam man wouldn't dare to casually absorb spiritual gems. After all, he wouldn't dare to absorb impure things, especially when it was related to the soul and spiritual balls. If he came, would he be one of the bidders? 30 million merit points going once. The auctioneer raised the hammer in his hand and knocked on the table. 30 million merit points going twice. 30 million. 30 million and 500,000. Someone bid again. The auctioneer asked, "Is there anyone else who wants to bid?" 30 million and 500,000 going once. Going twice. Going thrice, sold. Congratulations to the distinguished guest for buying a fire pearl with 30 million and 500,000 merit points. Ning Shu heaved a sigh of relief. Her body went limp on the chair. This was beyond her expectations. She didn't expect the fire pearl to be sold at such a high price. Apart from the price of the fire pearl itself, it was actually a method to refine the spiritual balls. This method made the price of the fire pearl very high. Ning Shu left the private room and prepared to take the money and leave. Anyway, she didn't have money to buy anything here. She would take the money to pay off her debt. She would use the remaining money to exchange for some merit grains for the skeleton to cultivate. Si Tian said to Ning Shu, "Congratulations, you sold it at such a good price." You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.